Are they plugged in?
Is it on?
Yeah.
All right. I'd like to call to order June 10th, 2024 board meeting taking place Monday at 12:01 p.m. Can I get a roll call, please?
Vera Woodson. Christina Goldbaut.
Here.
Brian Rosen.
Here.
Cole Davids.
Here.
Aaron Halliburton.
Here.
Moving on down to the agenda approval, additions or deletions. Does anyone have anything to add or change to the agenda? I'd just like to make mention, and again, I think we updated the agenda, but when it comes to Old School Square funding update and discussion, I'd like to have the opportunity to have 27 Productions, have the opportunity to have a few words if they come, just to let us know what's going on. Also, per my understanding, it was the City Commission's direction to speak with us, as well as 27 Productions, on how to move forward. And again, I think at this point, I think everyone's on the same team. I think it's about just a unified vision and an opportunity to all work together. So
So you're just adding that to the agenda?
just kind of adding that on 8C.
Okay.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda with the amended change or addition?
Yeah, I'll motion to approve with the addition under 8C.
Can I get a vote? Can I get a second?
Second. Just speak into your microphone. Second.
Roll call, please.
Vera Woodson.
Yes.
Christina Goldbaut.
Yes.
Brian Rosen.
Yes.
Cole Davids.
Yes.
Aaron Halliburton.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Moving on to public comments, limited to 2 minutes. For those speaking, please provide your name, address, when you check in and speaking at the lectern. Thank you.
Hello, Judy Malika, 122 Northwest 3rd Avenue. I'm addressing a statement made by a DDA board member at the City Commission meeting who said, speaking about Old School Square Center for the Arts, these are bad people, period. Let me introduce a longtime board member of Old School Square Center for the Arts, Deborah Dowd. Deborah was a teacher here for 39 years. She started the Seacrest Homeowners Association, served on the site planning and zoning boards and the task team that won the All-American City Award for Delray Beach. She's a board member for the Achievement Center and volunteer coordinator for their annual tour of homes. She serves on the board of Impact 100 Palm Beach County, and she was selected as the 2018 Women of Grace by the Bethesda Hospital Foundation. Deborah's also a master gardener who volunteers weekly at the Nature Center, tending to butterfly gardens. She's worked tirelessly for Delray Beach for 50 years. This is not a bad person, period. Not present but very important is Patricia McGuire. Patty served for 12 years on the board in the Pines, building homes and providing after-school tutoring and life enrichment for agriculture workers in West Delray. She was also a nominee for the Women of Grace Award. She's the founding board member of Plein Air Art Palm Beach and has volunteered countless hours towards bringing the arts to Delray Beach. This is not a bad person, period. I'd like to introduce the chairman of the board for Old School Square Center for the Arts, Patty Jones, who will be speaking. Patty raised 2 children here in Delray Beach. She's a co-chair for Impact 100 Grants Committee for 3 years. She's a committee member and co-chair for the Bethesda Hospital Women of Grace Luncheon, donor and volunteer for the Achievement Center House Tour. She has served many years for the committee for the Empty Bowls in Delray Beach, and she's chaired it for 2 years, sponsors the Delray Beach Police Ball for many years, and a donor to many charities in Delray Beach. This is not a bad person, but rather a major contributor for the good of Delray Beach. Shame on you.
Hi, good afternoon. Lori J. Durant, resident in Delray Beach, 4165 Northwest 10th Street, Delray Beach, Florida. And my purpose for speaking today was to inquire about any public disclosure that Mr. Rosen could make if he had any prior connection with 27 Productions. I understand that they have an interest in activating the auditorium at the Crest Theater. Mr. Rosen did speak at the last special commission meeting, but he neglected to state his name and enter it into the public record. He neglected to also identify his affiliation as chair of the DDA board. So if Mr. Rosen could please disclose any prior connections he has at 27 Productions or Blake Ian Goldsmith. And they also reference that they have capital investors. So if Mr. Rosen could please clarify if he has any connections to the private investor funding that 27 Productions has stated. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Cynthia Ridley. I live at 210 Northwest 2nd Avenue. First of all, as we always been taught to say thank you to folks before we begin. So thank you, Laura, for helping me get something done that I asked you, so I really appreciate it. And thank you, Mr. Rosen, for coming to one of our elders meeting on last Thursday. It was great seeing you there. I got a call and said that I should come today, but I'm gonna come to DDA anyway because I live in the city of Delray Beach and also live in the said community as well for the last 45 years. But when I heard that someone put out that, what is a bad person? Give you something to think about. Then they go around, it's okay for them to advertise their business and make money through DDA and advertising their business, board members. Is that okay? But we can say we are bad people, so what makes them a good person when it's okay for them to do what they do? Second of all, if you don't live in the set and you sit on a board and say that they won't have anything to do with anybody who lives in the set or do anything for a person that lives in the set, does that make them a bad person? When they don't even live in the set but constantly speak about what they're not going to do in a board member. How is a board member chosen? I think you need to do a better interview on these people that you have sitting on your board when they around here spreading negativity through a community which they don't live in. But you know what? They want to make money. That's a part of your board. But I've been on the Spady Museum. I found I had some good people. At least they tell the truth about who they are. Ain't that something? But you know what? I'm a bad person too. But you know what? But I look inside before I speak about and say what I'm not going to do for a community that you don't live in the said community. Thank you.
Hi, Patty Jones, 1026 Poinsettia Road. I'm going to continue what Judy had started. I would like to mention Elise Nail, who owns Putnam Round. She has done thousands of fundraisers for the community. She has made thousands of donations to local nonprofits, teachers, and she and her husband are both members of Impact 100. They support 4 kids and are Bethesda hospital donors. They purchased and donated the ice skating rink and the decorations for the city Christmas tree. And they have also played Santa and Mrs. Claus for the city for 5 years. This is not a bad person. I also want to introduce the next speaker, Frances Bork. She is a woman that devoted 40 years of her life to restoring the buildings and creating the city's cultural center. She never earned a penny for what she has done, but rather than, and then she also funded much of the needed funds. In fact, some of the trees that are sitting on the site at Old School Square are from her yard. She was also awarded so many awards. Just a couple of them are the 1993 Publishers Award by Sun Sentinel. She received in 1994 the Palm Beach Post recognition of the 100 outstanding citizens of Palm Beach County. In 1997, she received the Historical Society of Palm Beach County's James Knott Award. She was awarded the Women of Grace for her volunteerism, and she received in 2017 the Delray Beach Chamber of Commerce Lifetime Achievement Award she definitely is not a bad person. Thank you.
I'm Frances Bork, founder and chairman emeritus of Old School Square. I see before me friends, folks I don't know as well, folks whose family I know, people I've worked with, people I've encouraged, people I've supported. When you malign Old School Square, you disparage a generation of community volunteers. Some of you were not here when Delray made the turn from dull to vibrant. Those who were here ought to know better. Old School Square was a prime builder of our city. Progress occurred because we all worked together. The culture today is mean-spirited. This culture is ruinous. Building community was our primary job. We used the arts to bring people together, and we listened to the voices of the community. And we did that job well. You know, building community is a choice. We can build or we can destroy. Building community asks us to put the community first over our own individual interests and need for pride. You have to believe you are doing something bigger than you. And for years we did that. And we did it well. We're not going to let anyone lie about our performance. No one. We served this town with integrity, honesty, and heart. To be called bad people is only hurtful and it's dishonest. It's destructive and it's damaging. None of us should tolerate this. None of us. If leadership in this city doesn't step up and end the politics of personal destruction, all that has been won will be lost. Today, it's tomorrow. Tomorrow, it could be you. Please let me finish. Old School Square paid 75% of its $3 million budget for running the entire facility through philanthropy, ticket sales, and sponsorships. Today, donor trust is at its best on life support. Now the taxpayers are on the hook for 100% of this entire operation. After coming off the biggest concert in the city's history and gaining national recognition, we were terminated without cause. Our audits were late, but they were clean. We had $1 million in the bank, and we were doing our best like we always did. We are not bad people. None of us are. And if you do your homework, you will learn that we were not tenants or a management company. We are the founders of Old School Square Cultural Arts Center. We are very good people. I ask us all to rise to that and be the best we can be. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Mavis Benson, 800 Greenswood Court. First of all, I'd like to say congratulations on a successful town hall. The attendees represented all of our neighborhoods within our district. The sharing of thoughts and concerns will be most helpful as you go forward in goal setting for the next year. I'm here again to ask about parking. The merchants are experiencing significant decrease in foot traffic and sales. So if there's anything that can be done that would encourage people visiting our downtown, especially for our loyal locals, it would be greatly appreciated. Another item which I'd like to see us address at some point is the use of A-frames. How is usage being monitored, and should there be a discussion of controlled, limited usage? It's truly inspiring to see how the Cornell Museum and campus have come to life under Laura's leadership and with the incredible efforts of the team. While it was undoubtedly challenging at the start, it seems from my perspective that with Maruska's involvement, things are finding a comfortable and productive rhythm. Her historical knowledge of the campus and connections with key individuals and resources have proven invaluable. I remember when we first received the green light in 2022 for management of the campus, Kay Johnson and Charlene Farrington approached me immediately after the meeting, expressing their eagerness to support in any way possible. The enthusiastic support from individuals as these, along with the Arts Garage and other community members, has been invaluable, and their involvement will be crucial as we develop the teaching classrooms and kitchen. Collaboration with any of these could potentially bring fresh and dynamic content to the programming. The analogy of needing a quarterback to bring together these various teams is quite fitting. In my opinion, Laura is the perfect choice for that role. The ongoing renovations and programming for the Crest Theater, is that my time?
Yeah, that's your 2 minutes. Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't want to interrupt, and I had Ms.
Okay.
Bork a little extra, but if you could, I'll give you like 10
Okay.
more seconds. Just
I've got just this much, okay. Especially with the 100-year anniversary of the building, represents an exciting milestone and perfect opportunity to book exceptional programs that celebrate its life, its legacy, and future. I am here today to offer my support in any decision made in which Laura and staff feel comfortable to commit. And that's the key question that I think we should all ask first of them, their feelings and their commitment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Stephanie Immelman, Delray Beach Chamber of Commerce. I just have a partner report. That's okay. The chamber
Good
hosts.
time to get it in.
Yeah, I know. Let's get that in there. The chamber hosts the Economic Development and Government Affairs First Friday Forum on the first Friday of the month via Zoom at 9 a.m. We get monthly updates from several departments in the city, from the CRA, from the DDA, and the SBDC and Career Source and Fire contribute regularly. We won't be having a meeting on July 5th, but we finalized the rest of our schedule for the rest of the year. So on August 2nd, we're going to have Erica Whitfield, Palm Beach County School Board, to talk about back to school. On September 6th, we're going to have Wendy Sartori-Link, who's the Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections. She's going to be talking about new regulations and important dates for the general election coming up. On October 4th, we have Jared Smith, the CEO of Bethesda Hospital. He's going to give an update on hospital and technology. November 1st, we have Mayor Tom Carney, who'll give us a city update. And save the date for December 6th. We'll announce the speaker when her schedule is clear. So here are these, and we'd love to have you join us. You just sign up at delraybeach.com, and you get the Zoom link automatically, and hope that you can join us. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Neighborhood and Community Services Department, Clean and Safe Administrator Henry Thompson. Just a few updates, what's going on in downtown. Streetscape enhancement project was completed, including a fresh coat of paint put on the Pineapple Grove Arch, as well as refurbishing and powder coating 14 new receptacles to the color of turquoise in the downtown, well, actually in the Pineapple Grove district. Monthly rodent prevention services continued with the newly contracted vendor, Northwest Exterminating. 102 new rodent bait traps were installed in the Clean and Safe District as part of the new contract agreement. Services have been completed for the month of May. The Clean and Safe Division continues to partner with TerraCycle, the cigarette waste recycling program, bringing the total number of butts recycled year to date to 87.5 pounds. A plant removal and material upgrade project commenced on May 1st at Libby Wesley Plaza. A purchase order was created to acquire a large amount of different plant material to install at that location. The plant material selected includes Calusa plants, red croton mammies, yellow Eleanor Roosevelt crotons, and yellow Ixora. A total of 575 different plant species to be installed in that location. The Clean and Safe Division requested quotes from local and online pottery vendors for the anticipated purchase of decorative planters to install in the downtown district. The decorative planters project is an enhancement effort to improve the appearance in the area. Currently, the plan is to install 10 new modern decorative planters in those locations of the existing planters. That's pretty much all I have. If you have any questions for me.
Henry, can you send that to Liliana so we have it for the record?
Yes, okay, no problem. Sorry about that. All right.
Is that all from our public and partners updates? If so, let's move on to the consent agenda. Anyone have anything to mention on the consent agenda? I got a couple things I'll make a mention of as we kind of move forward. Again, I brought up some questions in the budget last time, and I just kind of want to revisit that. Laura, I sent you an email. We got some feedback back, and I just kind of want to bring a couple items, just make sure all the board's seeing what I'm seeing, and then move it to next month to really give us like, hey, this is where we are in the budget, and this is how we're going to do it the rest of the year, But there was a couple things that were like, we're over 100% of our, budget for the, museum and stuff, and we still have a bit of year to go, and I'm sure there's reasons, and we're doing an excellent job, but I just need to understand, and I know we just amended the budget, so to see that it's still so over budget, I just want to know what the plan is moving forward. I mean, I don't want to go one by one with you now, but I can just mention a couple of these things. And again, I just, I need to do it in the light.
Well, no, that's fine. If you want to go through that, we can go through those details now. If you want to pull it off and put it as part of or put it in part of the agenda. So if you want to
all right, yeah,
pull
let's do
off
that.
the financials, the May financials, and put them into old business. 7, add it to the
That'd be
agenda
great.
itself.
Yeah, I'd appreciate
And then you can approve the consent agenda, and then we can add it as an item for discussion. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Do I need a motion for that?
So we'll move, if we could just, we just need we'll bring off the financials to old business 7AA before the bylaws. Is that fine?
Okay, that's fine.
Great.
All right. With that being said, I can move forward and approve the rest of the consent agenda if anyone wants to make a motion.
Do you want me to make a motion to approve the consent agenda, removing 4B from it?
Moving it to 7AA.
Second.
Roll call?
Aaron Halliburton,
Yes.
Cole Davids,
Yes.
Christina Gabbard,
Yes.
Peter Woodson,
Yes.
Brian Rosen.
Yes. Thank you. Moving to the regular agenda, development services. We're going to get some items presented by the city, starting with the in lieu parking. By the way, congratulations on your recent accolades, I believe, on communications. Did you just?
That would be Gina Carter.
Oh, Gina Carter.
She is well deserving of it.
Oh, there she is. All right, I saw
Yes.
you both I saw her wearing similar jackets. But
Yes.
okay, and I don't have my glasses on. So.
So actually, do you have the in lieu of parking one? This is for
Parking, sorry. It's wrong one. Right. Yeah. You have a clicker up there, right?
There we
Yes.
go.
Okay, well, good afternoon. My name is Rebecca Dostry. I'm with Development Services, and we are bringing before you all this proposed amendment to the land development regulations related to our in lieu of parking fee. that is available. Let's see. So we're just asking for a recommendation on the modifications that we're proposing to the program. This map right here shows all of the areas where a business could pay the in lieu fee instead of providing the parking on site, and the various fees that you see associated with it. So let me jump ahead one slide. So this program has been around since the 70s. The DDA was initially, I believe it started with the DDA. But then in May of 2023, about a year ago, the commission adopted a zoning in progress so that we were no longer receiving applications for in lieu of parking while the staff prepared as a modification to the program. And so that is has been extended multiple times, and it'll expire in 2023. So going back a slide, in lieu parking, some of the required parking spaces can be provided through an in lieu payment to the fund that goes to build new garages or bike and pet infrastructure. It's only available in the CBD and OSHAD zoning districts. It could be used for new development, use conversions, or building additions or renovations that trip the need for more parking. It's not allowed for exclusively residential, and any residential components of a mixed-use development, and no more than 30% can ever be provided through in lieu except for use conversions. Since the 90s, 42 requests have been approved, 24 for use conversions, 9 expansions, and 9 new construction. You can see that they've been largely distributed throughout the central core areas, with a few out in the beach sub-district of the CBD. It's come up that if we change the in lieu program, how can businesses provide or receive relief for parking? So we actually have a lot of things already built into our land development regulations to allow relief. So if a property is less than 65 feet, you're not required to provide off-street parking unless it's for a restaurant or a lounge use provided or proposed. And then within the West Atlantic neighborhood sub-district on this map, you can see the area in green. Any existing buildings that would propose an outdoor use area are exempt from providing additional off-street parking. It's just a way to incentivize creative uses of properties. And also within the CBD, if you're within 750 feet of a parking garage, business and professional offices have lower parking requirements, and then if there's a change of use, no additional parking is required unless, again, it's a restaurant or a lounge use. There's many more. If only one new parking space is required, then you're exempt from having to provide it. Restaurants and bars can use valet parking, and there's always the option to do off-site parking and off-site parking agreements. So we are now proposing a modification for who is allowed to use in lieu parking. The exempt or the prohibition on residential development still remains, but we're modifying how what amount could be used for use conversions depending on whether a property is historic or non-historic. The direction that we got from Commission when they asked us to look at in lieu parking was to try to tie it to policy-driven goals. There was some concern that new development was using the in lieu parking option, and it was perhaps resulting in a bulkier building if you're not parking the parking that you're generating and just putting it off-site. So we would still allow it for new development, use conversions to existing buildings, but for non-historic building, we would extend that maximum 30% that's on the books now, but it would be for buildings that are less than 2 stories or expanded use areas. And then in historic districts or properties, we would allow all parking to be provided, and any additions that result in a total building footprint that's no more than 3 stories. So we're trying to build in a program that incentivizes adaptive reuse and use of the existing buildings that really contribute to that feeling of the village by the sea that we have in the downtown area and that historic built form. The other change that we're proposing is to collapse the in lieu fee areas from 5 areas to 3. and then adding in the language to specifically communicate that the in lieu request would run with the properties, rather than the property doesn't lose it if someone's already paid into the fund for it. The reason that we eliminated some of these areas, we took the beach areas off of eligibility entirely, just because, with being the barrier island, our comprehensive plan generally discourages intensification of development out on the barrier island. And then within the two areas, areas 4 and 5, we eliminated just because we thought it was creeping a bit more into the neighborhoods than would really be desirable. We also shrunk the area that you see in green on the map because we were concerned that if the in lieu area was spreading too far into the residential neighborhoods, it may have an unintended consequence of parking overflow. If there's not a nearby space, people may start parking in front of our residents' homes, and we didn't want to encourage that. So we think it's a little simpler. A lot of the characteristics that existed before were tied to the sub-districts, like the railroad corridor, and that's really developed to the point where it's very similar to what would have been the central core areas before. We're also proposing a change in the fees. The cost to build a parking space now averages at about $32,500. We don't have a garage planned in our capital improvements program anytime soon, so the idea behind proposing that higher number is that once the city is able to build a garage, we would actually have enough to do so. And we can take feedback from the boards and the commission, obviously, and direction on where to settle on that number, but that's where we settled. And then based on policy, different policies that the comprehensive plan in the city has, we have applied percent reductions to certain areas where we would want to really encourage more development, such as the West Atlantic area would still have a fee reduction applied to try to encourage redevelopment there. And then in historic properties, there's also the percent reduction that we're proposing. So there were required findings that the commission had to make before related to be able to approve a request, and it only currently relates to availability of parking within 750 feet, but we added some extra criteria that the request wouldn't facilitate the demolition of a historic structure, and the request would support at least one of the following policy-driven goals related to historic preservation and adaptive reuse, investment in the West Atlantic neighborhood, or adaptive reuse of an existing building. We wanted it to be less, maybe perhaps arbitrary feeling than before, and really have something that could be pointed to as a quantitative way of determining whether or not the request should be approved. So there is a lot of public parking available within the downtown. As you can see on this map, there's the garages, and then a number of city lots, CRA lots, and then different on-street parking. And then these are just some policies that we use to guide the proposal that we're making. Adaptive reuse is something that our comprehensive plan encourages, and we really want to look at different innovative ways to allow parking, but we want it to be tied to these goals as well. So you guys are the second stop. We took it to PMAB at the end of May, and then it's going to be going to Historic Preservation Board, Planning Board, and City Commission. We're hoping to have it adopted before the end of September. So if you guys have any questions or feedback, I will be happy to take it down. Yes.
I got one for you. Again, thank you. Really good presentation. Appreciate it. I know in the past, based on the area you were in, it was the number of parking spaces required. Now it looks like, just so I understand, you're changing it, and it was reflected in the price as well. Now it looks like it's reflecting in the price. What's going to be the guide for the number of spaces that is required? Did that change as well as part of it?
Yes.
Or is it just...
So it is...
Oh, go back.
Let's see. If you go to the ordinance that was provided as backup, it's also on. I'll tell you what page. The strike through and underline is never easy to.
Yeah, because I know, again, the reason I ask is I know, like, downtown on Atlantic, it was 12 per thousand, and then in a different area, it was 6 per thousand.
Oh, no, we're not changing the parking rate. It would just be what percentage you would be allowed to percentage of the total requirement that you would be allowed to provide through in lieu, but we're not changing the actual rates. You would still be obliged to do 12 per thousand in that area.
Oh, so the original part of the parking code based on the areas and the requirement spaces per area is staying the same.
That stays
What
the
we
same.
are changing is the cost
The cost and who
and which areas
which projects would be eligible for in
that
lieu.
now fit into the old one.
Correct.
Okay, all right, I didn't know if you had to update that old one too, just as we were updating it all, because now the old one's like technically a bigger area than what the new area is. So
And that was intentional to shrink it down. So let's see, going back, let me go to where the map is of what is, oh yeah, so that's it. So if you see, like, there's certain portions, like the one that you see in purple and pink on the map, that, and even down the green that's south of, I can't read on here, 2nd Avenue, Southeast 2nd.
yeah.
Those are all much more residential in character, where we would not want to really encourage people to park.
All right, but the new zones overlay the old zones and just shrunk them. So the old zones are basically still what counts for the number, but they just got smaller. But you're not updating that part of it necessarily.
Correct. And so then within each of those areas, and I
think I understand
Yeah.
it. I got that was like really one of my big questions on it. Then just so I understand, again, I've got the opportunity to be speaking with someone with the city regarding some of these things. The West Atlantic opportunity is right now, if you expand the outside, you convert your use but not new development, you could take advantage of not having to deal with any of the in lieu. And then if you do in the future, I think, again, I'm going off my head, it's maybe 6 spaces per 1,000 versus 12
Correct.
in that corridor, which starting in whatever date, in the next year or so, when this terms out, it's going to just fall into that.
Yeah, and that area that you're referring to is called the Atlantic Avenue Parking District, which you can see it's the area in black on this map. That's where we have the higher parking requirement. I think it was a tool that was created to try to stop every space from turning from maybe retail to restaurant. So that was, again, the tool.
So what is that higher?
That's not going to change. So within that black box you see on the map,
That's 12 per 1,000 along
that's
that
12
one?
per 1,000 square feet, whereas everywhere else would be 6 per 1,000.
Yeah, I would just say, and again, I mean, it may be worth, speaking with, some representation in the set to really see if they want to limit that. I know that we're saying, hey, we don't want a bunch of restaurants, on West Atlantic Avenue coming in from 95, but maybe that community does, So I just, it's something just to bring up in discussion.
Yeah, so we don't have that limitation. It's in the West Atlantic. It's only in that really concentrated stretch of East Atlantic Avenue that's on the black box.
Oh,
So-
yeah. Oh, that one. Okay, sorry, I flipped
Yeah,
them.
sorry.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
on
All right,
the-
yeah, so the West doesn't,
Yeah,
that
the-
I understand. That I
Yeah.
get. And it also just has to do with the logistics of the trash and the deliveries and everything else. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. Anyone else have any comments?
Hello.
Questions?
I did have a question I wrote here in my notes, and I think you did answer this. What happens if someone sells the property? You said the in lieu goes with the building, correct? Okay, just to make sure that when there's a transition, it remains with the building. So if someone's already prepaid, then moving forward, this new person is not on the hook for their debt.
That's correct. And de facto, we've always operated that way, but we just didn't have it in writing, so we thought it would be better to put it on the books.
Thank you.
Does the 50,000, does that get us to the point of being able to build a parking garage? Because, I mean, how much is in the fund, like, roughly?
I don't know the
'Cause
current balance
is it-
of the fund.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Have we ever built a parking garage with the in lieu of fund, or?
I'll have to check on the actual balance of the
I
fund.
think so. No,
No.
I don't believe so.
I'm just wondering.
No, we've never built one to date, so
I know there's a fine line between, like, spurring new development and
yeah, with
people
the,
wanting to pay, but if the money's not being able to be used anywhere, then, we need
We're
to
not,
reconsider
yeah, we
everything.
recently did a parking and curbside management plan where the recommendation was at this point not to build any garages yet. When we reach 85% utilization rate, then we would look to add that to our capital budget, because right now we actually do have a lot of parking. It's more in managing the parking and curbside situation, just making people aware of where they can park, and then and really just adjusting it that way rather than just building a new parking garage when we really have the adequate parking available. But like I said, we've had 42 requests approved. So anytime that anyone pays into that, it's going into that fund. And the idea with it being the 50 is obviously that once we actually get to the place where we'll build a garage, we'll have a more appropriate contribution to offset what's being put in there.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
I just have a question on the proposed language ordinance for 14 through 24. It says elimination of public parking fee is proposed.
Yes.
So that's big, I feel like, for a lot of our merchants and.
Yeah, so and I'm sorry, I skipped right over that one. So we actually are deleting it more as we're proposing the elimination of this just because it's never been used. It was privately initiated a number of years ago, and I don't have the map of the areas that the public parking fee applies to, but it doesn't apply to anything zoned CBD. So there's kind of a weird donut shape around the CBD. And not only has it not been used, and not only do we have a number of other options available for meeting your parking requirement, it didn't necessarily seem to be appropriate given how it's all applying to non-CBD areas where we maybe wouldn't want to give people that buyout option. It's also related to the construction of a programmed parking facility, and since there aren't any programmed parking facilities now, it's just not something that seems to be necessary to really serve the parking needs of developers.
All right. Thank you so much. Is this needing a motion?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
Need a recommendation. So.
Great. Well, I thank the staff for their time, and I'd recommend when they move forward with the current language and the ordinance. So can I get a motion from someone on that regard? Does that work?
No, someone else.
That doesn't work? All right, talk to me. Where's my little cheat sheet?
It should be the recommendation sheet was handed out to you all. So if someone can make a recommendation.
Recommendation from the board?
You should have it in front of you.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that one.
Yeah, this guy. All right, so pursuant to Land Development Regulations, Article 8.2, the Downtown Development Authority for the City of Delray Beach recommends as follows: that the proposed request implements the downtown development plans, and then it includes Downtown Master Plan, Pineapple Grove Master Plan, West Atlantic Master Plan, Osceola Park Neighborhood Plan, and the shoppability analysis. So it says vote yes or no. Do we take a roll call on that, or just keep going? Okay. Number 2, that the proposed request encourages economic development and promotes the downtown as a prosperous downtown area. The DDA adopts this recommendation on, golly, what's today?
June
The
10th, National Iced Tea Day. June 10th, 2024. Motion to approve.
Thank you for putting together the
Second.
proper motion.
I'll second.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Vito Woodson,
Yes.
Christina Galbart,
Yes.
Brian Rosen,
Yes.
Cole Davids,
Yes.
Aaron Halliburton.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you again. Moving down to the Sunday Village presentation. Level 3 site plan and certificate of appropriateness. Hello, sir.
Mike Cavelli, 1209 South Swinton Avenue. We have a kind of a two-part presentation. I'll be quick though. This is for Sunday Village, which is basically encompasses 4 blocks. Block 61, which is under construction right now. Block 69, which was just recently approved for a parking garage. Block 70, which was just recently approved for an office building, and now we're looking at the redevelopment for the Sunday Village block. So these are the 2 areas that we're going to talk about today. The first one is the one in the building that's under construction at the northwest corner on Atlantic in Southwest First Avenue. This is the site plan, and the area circled in red is the area. All of the areas in white, by the way, have been leased, so leasing is going very well. And one of the purposes for doing this is, as we're talking with prospective tenants, everyone wants assurances that there's adequate parking. And so we're actually changing all the space that's in green to a restaurant use. And the reason we're doing that is because prospective tenants want assurances that there's parking available and facilities available. Doesn't necessarily mean they'll all be that way. The existing condition right now is the red box is a private lobby for the use of the tenants, and the yellow area, outline area, is an outdoor area that was for the tenants' use. It was not open to the public. What we're proposing is that there will be an open to the public lobby, which will be in the red, and the areas in green will be restaurant designation, including the area in yellow as an outdoor area. This doesn't mean that they're going to have 9,000 square feet of restaurant. It's just they want to be sure that parking and facilities are available, because it works better than saying, trust me, I'm a developer. So, and if you look at the area to the upper right, that area in blue is currently being negotiated as a retail space. Likewise, in the south, it's currently being negotiated as a retail space. We don't know if those leases are going to come to fruition, but the point is they want to make sure that we can provide facilities at the maximum intensity should we have to do that. And so this is like the last piece on this building on the ground floor. The rest of it in white on the image to the left is already leased. The second floor is about half leased, and the third floor is completely leased. So you can see leasing is very aggressive on this in this building. So we'd appreciate approval of that change of use. The next item is Sunday House. This is the existing condition, and if you look at the building in the lower left-hand corner, that is Building D that was moved from the middle of Block 61 to the north. And then the rest of the site remains as it is. As far as the certified plan, it included Building D being in the locations in, plus a replica construction of Building H, which was on Block 70 to the east. Side by side, changes from the certified plan to what we have. Let me see if I can do this. Yes, I can. The pool area is very dangerous. It's really like a pond more than a pool. It's going to be relocated to this area. The retail space, the Building H is going to be rotated and put down in this corner, and both Building H and Building D are going to be reconstructed or repurposed for residential inns, to expand the residential inns that are all in these buildings here, that will all be reconstructed. So that'll add a few more residential inn units. And then where the gravel parking lot is, and this is very significant, we are going to be putting, if I could get this right, an event space in, which is desperately needed in the city to have event space. And then up in this corner, let me see if I can make this, that small building on the left is going to be removed, and the actual structure itself will be expanded, and that will provide for back of house for the expansion of the restaurant, air-conditioned dumpster area, things that to improve the back of house facilities for the project. And then the gardens and everything will be refreshed. And part of this will also include a color change. These colors were previously approved for the restoration on Sunday House, with the exception of we're not going to do shake shingles on Sunday House. It has a copper roof right now. And so for the sake of consistency, we're going to bring this as a uniform color palette to what you see is on the left. Sunday House also had a large barn behind it. It was a livery stable, we think. They also had a big barn over by the railroad tracks. But so the thought is for the event space that we'll do it somewhat in a style of a barn. This isn't necessarily the final architectural. We haven't been had any TAC comments to really work through yet, and so we're going to have to do that. But the concept is to provide a large event space that will be available for the public to use. And then as far as the Sunday House elevations, they were previously approved for the restoration. The part of Sunday House, which is this part, is the only historical part of Sunday House. All the others were built back in the 90s when Tom Worrell bought the property. We're going to bring Sunday House back to its original look, take the enclosed porch out, add the railings back the way it originally was. There's not a lot of change from the approved elevations that we have. The main change is a result of going into construction drawings and looking further. This area right there that is kind of like there's a glass enclosure. If you've ever been to Sunday House, you'll know that in the middle of the buildings that were built back in the 90s, it had like a covered, canvas covered bar area, and it was kind of leaky and not really very, very comfortable to be there. The approval was to do a glass enclosure, but in doing the energy calculations now, they find that we have to do some kind of a topper on that glass insulated roof area in order to meet the energy calculations. So the rest of the structure below is still glass, but the middle of it has to meet the energy calculations. And it does have a much better effect on the elevation of the building because it really masks that glass structure. This is looking at it from First Street. You can see the expansion on the right for the back of house area, and again the glass structure is now down much lower and not really visible. Keep in mind that there is a 6-foot wall that runs all down along a wall and fence that runs along the sidewalks. You would not see this elevation from the street. And then interior of the building, again, you can see the change in the structure, in the glass structure from here to here. And you see it's much lower and less obtrusive. The rest of the buildings were done in the 90s. Tom Worrell had liked the island kind of color schemes and things. We're trying to bring the color scheme of these buildings back into more of in tune with the color scheme of Sunday House. And so the buildings that we're doing will have color changes so that they're uniform and read as part of the residential inn hotel type use. And then landscaping wise, the ponds that are on site are leaking. They use a well to replenish them. They're using a lot of water, so those are going to be reconstructed and lined for water conservation. All of the landscaping will be upgraded. There's a lot of bamboo on site that has gotten so large that it's completely blocked light in and the understory plants are dying. So we're going to open all that up and refresh the landscaping so that it is a nice, bright, lush like it was back in the 90s and beyond. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Open it up. Anything, Aaron?
The outdoor space that was for the tenant use, like what was that originally going to be? The one that you're reducing now?
On the northern
exactly.
piece. What they were going to do was create, that was going to be created as like a kind of a private area for tenants to go and eat lunch and things like that. It's now, will be classified as outdoor dining. And based on leasing, it may get used that way or not used that way. If it doesn't get used that way, it'll probably be a tenant space.
Okay. Thank you.
Vera.
First of all, thank you so much. Your historical references and trying to keep in alignment with the history is very much appreciated. I love when good development is done well. There were a few things that when I was reading through this, I had questions about. It says that there's going to be a restaurant building with a basement.
Yes.
Which restaurant?
The event space is being classified as restaurant so that we maximize the parking on that. That space will be operated by the operator of Sunday House. So it's one unified restaurant, and in the lower level of the building there will be a kitchen, facilities, and all the things to support that space.
Okay. It also said that there were going to be 2 swimming pools. You spoke of one here.
The little one. There's a little.
There's
I think there was one behind the one of the.
There's oops, I'm sorry. Let me go. There's one right there, on the west side of that building. It's envisioned that these lower units may become like the bride and groom suites for events, and that would be a private pool for that it's a double unit.
Got
there.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you said that you're going to possibly throw back to a barn theme or building on the site. But my question is that in place of the event tent that is written down? Is the barn going to replace the tent? It says that you're doing construction of a new outdoor event area with an event tent.
There was an option that possibly this large green open space right here, if they wanted to do an outdoor event, that they could actually put a tent up out there. It doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be a tent there all the time.
Well, that was my question.
Yeah,
whether or not it was something that was going to be up and down, or is it going to stay there? Or
it may never happen.
Okay.
It's just an option that big green open space, if someone wants to have an outdoor wedding or something like that they could do it.
And that's what my last question was: what types of events are you anticipating happening on the property outside of weddings or anything of that nature? Based on the space.
There's probably a lot of people in this area that would love to have events in the city, and we don't have them. So whoever wants to have an event, it could be a corporate event.
Okay.
You know, for instance, Block 70 is going to be a New York Stock Exchange tenant that obviously is going to have events. So it could be, that kind of a thing. It could be whatever. And the space is set up so you can divide it into smaller spaces, so you could have a smaller event if you needed to, or you wouldn't need the entire space.
Well, thank you very much for your explanation. Thank you.
Great. In that case, can I get a motion from the board regarding the level 3 site plan modification, certificate of appropriateness, landscape plan, and architectural elevations associated with the Sunday House portion, Block 62 of the Sunday Village project, and use allocation changes within Block 61 portion of the project, specifically including what was presented?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Aaron Halliburton,
Yes.
Cole David,
Yes.
Brian Rosen,
Yes.
Christina Goldbach,
Yes.
Vera Woodson.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving down to old business. And I think this is where we popped in the 7AA item, just to go over a couple budget things.
Yes.
Is that what we-
Okay.
Great.
So, do you want me to jump in based
Yeah,
on
yeah,
your
jump
first
on
comments
in.
already?
Yeah,
So,
please.
this is your May financials. So this is where we are as of May 31st in your packet. To the question, and so also last in our May meeting, you all approved the amended budget based on numbers as of April. So so what you're seeing here too, as you look at our budget, we're going into our last basically 3 months of our currently, or 4 months, we include June, of our fiscal year. So
Last quarter.
last quarter.
Yeah.
So as you look at percentages, also just in overall in our financials, you notice that there's things that are 100% completed or over 100 based on where the actuals have come in. And on your comment, Brian, regarding the Old School Square section budget, the museum itself, the activations. So you're looking, I believe you're looking at the activations, museum activations and events section. So yes, that is, actuals are right currently showing over, and we probably will need to adjust that as we go forward with what we're seeing for the summer. So just based on some of the events that we're having there, which are also, there was an event that was hosted by the city, or the city in there, that was paid to us, the revenue came in as income. That should be adjusted and allocated towards the activations. So that needs to be reflective in there. We're under in some areas as far as the rotation of exhibits and new exhibitions, those were adjusted as well. But looking as we just had a opening of a new exhibition, and we'll go into really only activations that are going on, and there are some, we'll line up into other parts of, so outdoor events and areas as well. So in Mural Fest, we do have a hosting of the artist in there, but that will be part of another special event. So,
Right. So these don't include the Mural Fest expenses yet.
No, those go down. Those are in our amphitheater park. So we break it out as museum, and then we break it, and then you have outdoor space.
And then you break down the museum between activations and new exhibitions.
Yeah.
And again, we're 121%. Again, I mentioned this because we're going to amend the budget, so I wanted to see how the amendments came. But now that we just amended the budget last month, and I look, and I'm 121% over the budget, and it's not being discussed, because again, the museum's important to us. We want to keep this going, but we need to know, hey, we're going to take funds from here. Like, the board needs to be aware of what we're doing if we're going to be approving these budgets. And if we're being told we're going to possibly run an art school, and we're 121% over budget and have a quarter to go, I'm concerned. And I haven't heard the plan on where we're getting the funds and how we're going to do it, and what I know we have plans for the next quarter, but I'm not seeing the funds to execute on that. And again, I just think we'd all like to see that. And then even on the new exhibitions, we're 96% burnt through those funds. And again, I want to see exhibitions happen. I think the city does too. And that we may have funds around, but being that we just amended the budget, I think that these things should have been caught in the amendment, being that we're already going over them. And again, it just brings into question, I think we're doing a great job. I'm not taking anything away from that. It's just that what the DDA's responsibilities end up being, and this is Old School Square budget. This isn't DDA budget we're talking about. And it's just things that I'd like to have a better idea how we're handling it moving in the last quarter, and I think we all kind of do. And again, administrative and facility expenses, and I sent this in the email, we're 90% through our budget on that. That's concerning. I want to know if we are, what's the plan moving to the next quarter? It's just like little stuff, and again, we've talked about the economic development budget, and that the Visitor Information Center is, 70% of our budget for economic development for the city through the DDA, which I think it's a very important asset we have, but it's, again, just something, as I approve these budgets, I want to put out there and eventually have a discussion with the board on it, whether we think that that's where those
So
those
at our
dollars belong.
budget planning we can adjust those allocations, as I mentioned to you via email. What is in the visitor center is all expenses, including salary of the only paid employee for that.
So then it should come out of the salaries. It shouldn't come out of economic.
Well, it was board direction, a previous board, to put it into the visitor center. So if we want to change that, then it would just be at our board discussion and board planning. We can look at where we are putting the dollars.
Just make a note of that, because it's definitely something I look at, and it, I just think that we could do better things with those dollars, and I think that we can work with our volunteers and everyone to make sure everyone's doing well and making the most of the
Well,
space.
the person would still be working the visitor
Yeah.
center. It's just where
it's just on
the
payroll, not
would
coming
come
out of
from.
economic development.
Right, so
understood. We'll talk
so
about
based
it when we visit.
on direction at the time, as we were doing our budget planning with our board, is how we allocated that. Similar to if you have a marketing director, do we put the marketing into that employee into marketing expense? So that's an example. So those are other areas, other budgets that we've seen in the past from other downtowns have done
That's
that
fine.
as
I just
well.
make a
So-
note then, you know, when we have that discussion, that this be brought up and discussed, you know, when we come to that meeting. I'll remember, but, you know, just
Well,
one of
let's-
the
yes.
agenda items, if you will.
Okay.
Are any of these expenses like prepaid? Like we've paid for stuff going into
Yes.
summer?
Mhm.
Okay.
I know that's the case on a lot of the lighting, right? Well, actually, that happens after this new fiscal year. So the lighting, we're not going to have any more lighting expenses?
No.
Okay, because that was over 100% too. But I figured that was already done. I don't know. Does anyone else have any questions on the budget? Or again, maybe kind of revisit it at some time? When's our budget meeting coming up?
If you'd like, we can put this on, instead of under consent, I can have this on every agenda. We can go through the financials on the agenda every month, so you can go in, we can go in more detail, which might be a good
That might be
recommendation.
great, yeah.
Just because
And you may have
not
plans,
having,
I mean, yeah,
we're not discussing these in our one-on-ones, going in detail, which I would, probably appreciate that too, just so we can sit and go through all
no, I
those
sent you a
invoices.
couple emails on the stuff.
that's
on
nice
Last night
suggestion.
you did.
And
You did
before,
send-
but it's okay.
Okay, but I also, right, and I also replied to those as well with detail, but I haven't heard any comments or haven't met with that discussion.
no,
So
understood.
I just, in fairness, if we could have more of a one-on-one conversation about this with all of you, that would be fantastic. And so I have an opportunity to really come prepared to answer, or we have.
Yeah, that's why I said
those
we could move it
answers
the next
questions.
month. That's what I was saying. Like, I just want to bring it up and move it the
Right.
next month.
Okay.
That's fine.
So we'll make a note to put this as far as an actual business agenda item for discussion, so it's not on consent, so it'll actually be regular agenda, to go through the financials, and that way also our treasurer can be here as well, or
Right.
whoever the treasurer is at the next, through the rest of this year. Vera, sorry.
I'm sorry. We have one-on-one meetings for this reason, so that we can go over these things in finite detail and drill down to where notes can be put on the side, so that when we come to the meeting, we're already aware of these concerns or questions, to minimize the amount of time that we're here together, so that we can get back out in the community and do the good work for the people. So can we not do this every month and just maybe go over any adjustments that had been discussed that were in question, not the entire budget?
Well, I think if you remember, probably when you first joined the board, we did have the financials. We actually had the minutes. We didn't have a consent agenda, so every item was put on as an action item. And just seeing that there wasn't discussion, there was, we were just going through those items. There was a recommendation to make a consent agenda. So, based on direction, and if there is consensus from direction, we'll just have the financials as a regular item, and just review of any changes, any items that should be discussed at the time. If not, it would just be
Yeah, it should be
motion to
generally,
approve.
once we're up
Should be
to
a
speed on
regular,
things, it should be
yeah.
a quick thing. Like, hey,
Well,
we're coming up with this. There's a big expense coming. By the way, we're going to blow the budget here, but we got money here. This is what we're doing. We're keeping the board abreast of stuff where.
I would agree.
that'd be
However,
great.
every time we come here, there's not a just blow through it. It's a bunch of different questions that could have been answered during the one-on-one. So I'm trying to minimize that engagement, so that we don't bore the people to death.
Okay.
If we could do that.
So I will, you're noted, I hear you. So we'll make sure that we'll work towards that, and I'll be working to, because plus we'll also have a budget workshop, and that's later in the agenda where we put that date on, so we can go through every item in detail, see where we are.
Yeah, and we refer to the people, we're referring to our taxpayers and residents whose money we have and are allocating to different things. So I do think that it's just important, to be transparent and have these conversations.
No, I don't
in the light.
disagree.
So, just to be clear.
Absolutely. So, all right, great. Any other questions?
Nope, I think we're good on that. Does someone want to make a motion to pass the budget as provided in the consent agenda?
Ivy Woodson motion to approve the agenda as presented
Just
in the
item 7A,
At
which would be the
7A.
May financials.
yes, financials that were presented during this DDA board meeting.
Thank you. Just need a second, please.
Second. I second.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Vera Woodson,
Yes.
Christina Gavat,
Yes.
Brian Rosen,
Yes.
Cole Devitt,
Yes.
Aaron Halliburton.
Yes.
All right. Moving on. DDA OSS program updates. Suzanne to provide a presentation.
7A, sorry.
Oh.
You don't want to hear
Oh
from me
yeah,
today?
yeah. Oh, I do. I had them. I
okay.
wrote over you, bro. I apologize.
All right,
man. I wrote
just
no.
making sure.
All right, let's talk about the bylaws update. And
So we talked about this last month. I brought it up in general, stating that it was going to be brought back for this meeting to see if you had any further changes you wanted to make to the bylaws, if you had any disagreements to the proposed changes that are currently set forth in the draft. And if you needed some more time, we can defer final approval to the following meeting. I do have some additional bylaws from your colleagues to the south in Miami that I need to review to see if there's any changes that I think would be beneficial for you all, which obviously I would share with you for your consent and approval. But today's meeting is really for you to say any changes you'd like to see in the bylaws that are different from the current direction in the bylaws. And if there are none, then I'll take that into consideration that you're in agreement with the current version, and then I'll edit this version for a final version. And if I see any additional changes from the Miami DDA bylaws that I think will be beneficial, I'll highlight those so that you know that they're not ones that have been provided to you in the past, so you can readily tell what they are. Go ahead.
I got one thing I know that we had discussed, and I just think it's important to note. We had a lot of public discussion, you know, to start off the meeting, you know, regarding, you know, oh, a board member said someone's bad people. I don't want to get all into it. All I do want to say is that we should have something in the bylaws that if you are speaking as a DDA board member at a meeting wearing that specific hat, that you should only make comments that the board would be in agreement with. You can help me legalese it a little bit, but I just don't think,
Sure.
you know, personal, you can come in on public record and have your personal opinions, and that's fine, but I don't think representing the DDA and making a comment, you know, that doesn't represent the entire board on the, you know, in a public meeting possibly would be appropriate. We need to have something in there that is regarding that. in the
Yeah,
policies.
so
Quentin, can I speak to that? Because
Sure.
I think that was possibly directed at my comment, and I will have more to say at the end of the meeting regarding those comments. I totally agree with Brian because there are on several occasions where I would prefer that he not speak for me as well. So let's actually craft this language to make sure that there is no overlap or dissension amongst our voice in the community. When I spoke, I introduced myself as a DDA board member, not stating that I was speaking on behalf of the board. So I made that very clear. But I just wanted to make sure that you know that I'm in agreement with him. So let's craft language so that when he's speaking, people know that he does not represent my voice, and that we are in agreement that this is something that should be on record. Thank you.
Quick question, and call me crazy. If you show up somewhere and you say you're a DDA board member and you make a comment to the public, are you representing the DDA?
I was invited to the podium by the executive director. So in full disclosure, I stated the position that I hold on the board. I spoke from factual information, from my own experience of sitting through all the CRA meetings and the DDA meetings for a year, listening to the lawyers and listening to all of the feedback. And although there were fine people in the organization, I didn't see them rise to the occasion when all of the lawsuits were happening. So
That sounds like an opinion, though.
No, that's factual. You can go to the tape on all of these things. I would have never, ever said that without knowing factually of the pictures that were left behind, of the missing equipment, of the money, all of those things. So I just want to make it
question.
clear.
Why are we even talking about this organization?
You just brought that up.
No, I brought up policy for the bylaws.
Yes, and that's what I'm speaking on.
Right.
You
no,
said
you're speaking about specifics and opinions.
Okay, just so you know, when you spoke, you were directing that towards me.
Towards the
Correct?
situation, but not at you.
You
It's
said
more
bad people.
Towards the
I was the
bylaws.
one that said bad people. So I'm owning it, and we'll double down on it. So I just want you to know. So I'm clarifying this so that you understand I'm in agreement with you to make sure that that language is updated, because as we see, you don't speak for me. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I heard the comments from the board. Short of any additional comments, I will make those changes to the bylaws.
And one other question while we're talking about bylaws and conflicts, you know, and I know I've sent some emails and I discussed it on our one-on-one meeting, but again, I'm just gonna, because I'm not a lawyer, but I do read, and in the in the Palm Beach County Code of Ethics, it says if there's any financial benefit, including money, service, license, permit, contract, authorization, loan, travel, entertainment, hospitality, gratuity, or any promise of any of these, or anything of value, you know, there's a conflict. Again, I'm listening. I'm hearing people in our community say, hey, we have concerns that there's a conflict. If a board member is doing business with the DDA and making money, whether I don't know if she's paying the fee for the event, I don't know the specifics, but I'm just saying, if someone's running an event and making money, or again, I went to the DDA page, the landing page, I looked at events. Flea Mingle's number 8 of the top things, above Mural Fest, above Art and Jazz. And then when you click on it, it's like, for more information, go to fleamingle@gmail. That sounds like you're using the DDA and the money we're spending to collect names and information on the site. It's not appropriate, in my opinion. And again, this is part of the bylaws. I just want to get a legal opinion and some real hard stuff on when there's a conflict. I'll tell you myself, just an example. Max Zengage was running the Pineapple Grove bed races. I'm on this board. I don't financially benefit. I have a business near there. I donate towards it. I recuse myself from that meeting. I filled out the paperwork, okay? It's just, we need to be on the up and up. I know the integrity of this board's been discussed before. I'm listening to people in the community question it. I'm not a lawyer, but I can read, and I just need to get some clarifications, because that would pretty much put her in a weird position with anything regarding Old School Square. DDA business, great. Anything regarding Old School Square, if you're making money with that organization, I would say there's a financial interest, and I just need that to be looked at formally, please.
Please do. And if you need any records, I will provide them. But since he had this long query into my dealings with the DDA, let me explain how this came to be. I have to, Quentin. I have to. So I used to be a vendor with the CRA on Saturdays at Libby Wesley, trying to help them to spur economic development in that area. So I was a vendor. I paid a year in advance, and then they said that they were shutting it down. I also found that we had a sponsor that backed out of the DDA financially. And so in my quest to help, I had been lobbying for the DDA to have a night market for Delray Beach to be competitive with our tertiary cities, Boca and Boynton. We didn't have one. And so I told them I will take the responsibility and do this myself. I pay $1,500 a month to rent that space. I source micro and small vendors to come in and to sell their wares to the community. I pay the bulk of that myself. They pay less than market for any of their booth space, $50 to $75. When that money comes in, we have what is called the charity of choice on a monthly basis. The first charity of choice was Beach Keepers. They received that money. The second charity of choice was Spady Museum. They received that money. In July, the charity of choice will be Delray Rock's football team. They will receive that money. So in terms of whether or not I'm making money off of this, I'm actually losing money by paying the $1,500 a month. And to be honest, I was told that it was $1,000 first. When I came to the table, it then went to $1,500, and I still paid for it because I saw an economic need in our city to help as an incubator to help small businesses. Those vendors have also been directed in this month as part of their fee that they will receive 2 events, which means that they'll only be paying $50 for 2 events. They will also get the opportunity to sit down with the Small Business Administration over at FAU to receive one-on-one help to support their business and their growth plan and development, and hopefully eventually access capital to help grow their business. So I did this as a former economics and personal finance teacher to try and help the city of Delray Beach. If the city of Delray Beach doesn't want it, I will shut it down. But when the CRA shut down their event for that Saturday, a lot of these small businesses had nowhere to go, and I thought I would help to help all of these different layers to get this going. Now, who responds to fleamingle@gmail? It's me. Who runs the Let's Flea Mingle Instagram? My sister in California, because I refuse to learn social media. I'm too old, okay? So if anybody has any questions about where that money goes, I just told you. It goes to the charity of choice. And I added that component so that we can support our local charities here in Delray Beach. I don't need that money. I'm doing very well. So if you want me to write the check for the next year up in advance for $1,500 for every month, I could do that too. Because when the vendors give me their money, it goes right to the charity of choice. Call Beach Keepers. Call Spade Museum. Ask them, did they get anything from me? Yeah. Okay, so that's where it goes. So again, I appreciate it. I'm glad that everybody has like a full-on FBI investigation over fleamingle.com. And if you are wanting to support any of these small businesses, by the way, one of them actually is now going to be in a local store selling her mezuzahs, so I'm very excited. And I also sell my artwork in some of our local stores. So it's just to help economic development. But if the city wants me to shut it down because they think under the cloak of darkness that I'm robbing vendors for $50 for their booth rent, please let me know. And the advertisement, the DDA advertises all events that take place on city property. They are supportive of those events to help drive economic development to the downtown. So again, my heart was in the right place. But obviously, people are looking for something to tag me on, okay? Remember, I'm a volunteer. And at the end of the day, I really don't care. Thank you.
Okay. Again, my only concern is she shouldn't touch the money. She can put anyone in place and do whatever you want to do.
We'll have to
shouldn't
look
collect
at
funds.
whether or not there's any issues with that.
If I rent the space, what goes on in that space is up to me. Thank you.
I'll talk to you about it.
There you go. That's a conflict.
It's
Okay.
well.
That's conflict.
We'll get an opinion. We'll get a legal opinion on this.
No. We'll review this. We'll update the bylaws based on the discussion. We'll see whether or not there is, in fact, a conflict, and we'll discuss that privately.
So this will come back on the next meeting, the bylaw updates.
Yes. Any other comments on the bylaws?
Do you have anything else you want to address the board on? Are we good?
I don't.
All right. I think I'm fine. Anyone else?
3.4 qualifications. What is that standard language, like the showing the lease pays the tax, the DDA tax? Is that pretty standard?
The Valorum tax?
What?
The Valorum tax?
Well,
Yes.
like yeah.
Yes. It doesn't necessarily have to be a full lease. It can be a redacted lease showing that you are in fact responsible if you're applying for a position on the board for tax qualified position, that you're paying the taxes. We have to have proof of that. Whether or not you are leasing if you're not leasing the property, you own property as a property owner within the DDA district. Obviously, if you're not leasing that property out, then you can show you're not.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. I think we're ready to move on down the discussion to 7B.
Next time.
Go ahead, Sue.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
Doing great.
All right. So we had a lot of fun in May. And so let's get right into it. All right. So we really are trying to break down the things that we're doing as DDA staff based on the board goals that you all set back in September, October of last year. Enhancing the downtown experience. So in May, we had our Mother's Day Orchid giveaway. It's an annual event that we do. It's a retail promotion. So all of our events that we produce are really aimed at promoting different sectors of our downtown. This is specifically for our retailers to encourage people to shop in downtown Delray. It's sort of starting to get into a slower time of year. Mother's Day, it's in May, and shoppers who spent $200 or more got a free orchid. We gave away 400 orchids this year with an economic impact of about $80,000 plus. Thank you to all of our volunteers. Cynthia and her daughter volunteered for us as well as Vera. And we had IMI, International Materials, sent several of their employees over to volunteer and man our orchid station. So thank you to all of them for all of their hard work in the hot sun. Blue flag designation. This was the city of Delray Beach. Once again, put in an application for this very prestigious designation, and we won for a second year in a row. Only 2 beaches in the entire continental U.S. have this designation, and the DDA did work with the city to design, print, and hang those blue flag street pole banners that you will see on beachside if you drive along Atlantic Avenue there. Those flags were ready just in time for the flag raising ceremony, which was on May 8th. So that was a great time to really celebrate our designation as a Blue Flag International Award winner for the second year in a row. This is the other big news. We won the best beach in Florida. So the DDA was really instrumental in getting the word out about this vote. And we were really happy that we won. When they shut down the leaderboard a week before the voting ended, we were in second place. And so we were all a little bit nervous that we weren't going to win. But thankfully, we pulled out a win, and this has already gotten a ton of media and press, not just here locally, but around the country. We were also, this also really helps with search engine optimization for our Village by the Sea and downtown Delray Beach. When people are searching best beach in Florida, on a Google search, then this is one of the reasons why that's so important, because it does show Delray Beach coming up in the top of the list. Love Delray. This is our summer marketing campaign that we have launched. This is the second year that we're doing this. We have tweaked it a little bit. And so instead of telling all the downtown retailers that they need to offer a 20% discount, that didn't necessarily work for all of our restaurants and retailers and different businesses. So we are just asking them to give us all of their summer promotions, and we will promote that. So we've put together a web page. We've put together all kinds of printed collateral. We have swag, these big Instagram photo things that we took around the concert that people were taking pictures with. We have banners. We are in the process of producing a TV commercial right now, and we have a social media campaign promoting this Love Delray, which are discounts throughout the downtown area. 50 plus businesses have signed up, and I've got new businesses contacting me every day saying, how do we get involved? So this is just really a way to promote all of our downtown businesses and tell people to come, stay, shop, and dine in downtown Delray this summer. Okay, as far as the resident engagement strategy, which is another one of our goals from our board, we did the downtown town hall that Mavis had mentioned, which was in attendance. We had a great number of people, anywhere from 75 to 100 people. We had 4 of our West Atlantic restaurants that came and provided food, and many of the restaurant owners were there. Nicole from Jerk and Lime, she and her son were there kind of meeting and greeting. She's going to be opening her restaurant on Northwest Fifth Avenue, coming up in the next couple of months. And then Ziri was there. We also had the new deli at Tony's Market. So we had some really great engagement with our West Atlantic restaurants. There was a panel discussion from the commercial business owners and managers. We had We had the Fairfield Inn manager. We had Carrie Delafield, who owns Coco Morley and Periwinkle. And who's the other person?
Rob Walsh. From
Rob
IMI.
Walsh, right.
And we were supposed to have Todd Rosenberg
from
Pet
Sunday
Capital
Village.
and Craig Minnan.
Yeah. And then we had some great feedback from the audience. So, we opened it up to some feedback about what people want to see. These were mostly all of our downtown residents, downtown business owners. And so we really got to hear from our constituents, the people that are paying the DDA tax. As far as West Atlantic Avenue and that goal, we have a new kiosk now that we have constructed at Libby Wesley Plaza. This is, so we produce this calendar of events and we put it in many different forms throughout the downtown. We have a little flyer that we hand out. We do a real estate ad with this. We do some other like printed newspaper ads with this. But what we decided to do was also put this as a big kiosk sign in Libby Wesley Plaza that keeps people updated on what's happening throughout downtown. So it's just another way for us to really communicate to our residents and our businesses about all the things happening in downtown Delray. The new lighting that's going to be happening on Northwest Southwest 5th Avenue is in the works. We've mentioned this before. It's going to be hanging from the palm trees. We weren't able to do the street lamps, but there will be some new lighting that's going in on Northwest Southwest 5th Avenue. And then over the Memorial Day weekend, the Downtown Delray Craft Festival was at the Tennis Center in Northwest 2nd Avenue. Wasn't super packed, but it was definitely a solid crowd there on that Saturday and Sunday of the Memorial Day weekend. This is just a look at the website analytics as we go through both Downtown Delray Beach's page and Delray Old School Square. You can see some of the big things for the DDA page. Mother's Day Orchid Giveaway was #1, and at Old School Square, the Kenny Chesney tribute concert that we had there. Once again, a look at our social media, which is constantly increasing, and just really focusing on the content that we're producing for our social media. Our parking posts are continuing throughout the months, and as you can see, very solid numbers on those parking social media posts. Just explaining to people all the parking that is offered in downtown, where to park, what's free, what's not free. We did a post about the private parking lots, how to tell if it's a private parking lot as opposed to a public parking lot. Email marketing, our DDA emails hovering around that 41% average open rate, and our Old School Square emails, we've got about a 50% open rate, which is really good. This is just to look at the paid promotion that we're doing for both Downtown Delray and Old School Square. Solid numbers on our paid promotion. This is basically branding of both the Downtown Delray and Old School Square, and also specific to events that we're doing at each art and jazz, our sunset concerts. Public relations, our public relations team is just killing it. These kind of numbers you just don't see. I mean, we've got 1,000+ placements in 1 month on just for the DDA, 700+ for Old School Square. 613 million people are seeing this stuff, 833 million for Old School Square, and just taking a look at the value of the coverage. So this is organic coverage that you just can't pay for. Economic development. So this is a look at some of the closings that are happening. Retail, we've got Haystacks closing, One Door North, which is next to the Ray Hotel. Global Pursuit is going to be closing down. As far as restaurants, Bar 25, Cabana El Rey, the OG. And then relocation, House of Perna. Amanda Perna has been able to, she's going to be relocating into the One Door North space. The Shops at Seagate's going to be moving to Pineapple Grove under a new name. Amar Restaurant is actually taking over the Bar 25 spot, and they're going to be expanding there and also keeping their current spot on Atlantic Avenue. And then Tootsie's and Coconuts is going to be moving into where Global Pursuit is now. As far as retail openings, we have Candleland, which is a cute little concept where the old Morley used to be. A Pilates studio is opening on Atlantic Avenue. Restaurants, you've got Chip City Cookies, the Ceviche Company, which is a Peruvian restaurant. Tropical Smokehouse is going into the old Porn Famous spot on West Atlantic. And Lefke's will be opening within the month at the Delray Beach Market. And as far as relocations, the Standard going to be going into the OG. Bridge Cafe is expanding into the vacant spot nearby, and there are new owners for the Surf District. Old School Square, we had a busy May at the Square, a lot going on. And our big kickoff for our summer and the Memorial Day weekend was a Kenny Chesney tribute and line dancing. We had about 1,800 people come to that event, which we weren't sure because it's a slower time of year, but we really had a great number of people come out. We expanded the footprint to Northeast 2nd Avenue, so we made it a larger space for people. So we had all the food and alcohol vendors on one side, and then that really opened up the spot in front of the amphitheater just for the audience. We also decided to do a VIP. Selling VIP tickets because we're offering that VIP area to our downtown residents, but a lot of people were asking how can we get in there? How can we buy a ticket? So we sold $50 tickets and we made almost $3,000 for that concert alone. We also have new signage on the stage. If you've been to the amphitheater, you'll see we replaced the sign in the back, and there's also signs now on the side of the stage, so it's a very well-branded stage now. And then here's what's coming up. This is both DDA and Old School Square. We've got another free sunset concert. These are going to be on the fourth Friday of the month. The city is going to be producing its annual 4th of July festival and fireworks. July 24th, we have another Art and Jazz. This is going to be on East Atlantic Avenue between Swinton and 5th. And then Delray Wall's Mural Fest. That's going to be July 26th and 27th. And August 30th is our Party in Paradise, Delray's tribute to Jimmy Buffett. People are very excited about that. We've already sold about $9,000 in tickets to that. All right, Laura, you want to talk about the placer numbers?
Thanks. Okay, great. So thank you. Thanks, team. And thank you, Suzanne, for putting that together. What I wanted to do is to share with you all our placer numbers. I did provide you with two backup pieces. What the team put on here is our around our events. So Placer AI is a platform, and we're subscription based, so we have our own platform that's outlined in there. We do use it for events by geofencing, mapping the area of the event, which will provide us lots of information. I did give you the backup in here for Art and Jazz on West Atlantic, which was in the set, which is on here as well. So it shows the number of people that actually attended, their duration of time there. It goes into their income there and where they came from and where they returned to after. So it's pretty detailed, as you can see up there. It has a heat map. It will break down all by the numbers of percentages of people. So this has been a really great tool for us to also provide to other event producers, such as the Delray Affair, really getting into really what those numbers are, and then also what the impact is into the community. So we are leveraging that. We also wanted to put on here and showcase, because we are adding in all of our businesses that are within the downtown district and properties. So really from a business impact. So we have an example for Cafe Luna Rosa, which we can pull also comparisons year over year, so you can see some differences in trends. But this is also a great tool and a resource for our constituents to see if they want more detail on how their business is doing, comparisons where the people are coming from. Really, it's leveraged to use a lot for their building their own business cases if necessary. So it is a resource that Inscription we found valuable, and would like we're going to look at ways we can really do more with our community through maybe setting up meetings or doing online tutorials with the different businesses or people in our merchants in our district to see that we can show them the actual tool and get more information to them as well. So I wanted to be able to go through it, but it is a little cumbersome and takes a delay. So maybe at one of our workshops we can spend more time and go through the actual tool online with you all.
Do you pay like per report for this for businesses,
No.
or it's all so business
No,
emails
it's
you
an
say I
annual.
want?
It's an
Okay.
annual.
I think it was like 30 grand. What was the cost for it?
No, originally it was.
Yeah.
We ended up this year. It came because we started mid-year. We brought them down to it was 13,000,
Yeah.
so 13,500. But it's an annual subscription, which will probably go up next year based on what our need is. There is a tool that's not included, which is sales, which we'd like to look at what that cost would be, because I think that would be beneficial to see what the retail sales generated is.
It's a great program. I use it, and again, I'm just going to look at the West Atlantic Avenue one just to give people an idea of it's a lot of information to unpack, but just quick shot of what I'm seeing here. So the visits, about 1,800 people. It's picking up on cell phones or tablets. Average stay about 46 minutes. It's a nice amount of time they're there. It kind of goes on to what I really like to look at is where they were before and where they go after, right? Because you're trying to understand, the customer's journey or the journey of these people that are visiting our arts and culture in downtown. So, one of the things that popped out was Ramen Lab. 5.5% people came from Ramen Lab. So if we're saying we had 1,800 people, if it was 10%, that would be 180. 5% is about 90. So we're talking about business happening, right around just below 90 people in Pineapple Grove, and then coming west to West Atlantic Avenue. I think that's something to highlight and show how we're actually pulling it, and this is a metric that we can use. Again, it's interesting, public library, I don't know if that's the parking there. Afterward, 31% of people went home, 12% went to the tennis center. Tennis center, it's always one of those things, I think, that I see it, it's an incredible city asset. And I was just surprised to see so much, the tennis center interacting with everything we're doing with the arts and jazz on the street. It makes sense, but that was the afterward. So they'd hit art and jazz and then go play tennis. And then again, I saw Tin Roof in here for 3.3%. People went. Again, you're talking about close to 90 people, basically, going after the festival, coming, hitting the west and then starting to come east. And it's like one of the first stops that everyone hits. Because again, they probably went further east, but it just wasn't a big enough percentage to register. So again, that's kind of how I look at it. Also, it's interesting to see the hours on the report. Again, you can see it really picks up between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m., we crushed it. We almost did more traffic then than we did, all the time after and before. So really great to see that it did generate this traffic, and that's when we're getting all the hits on the people. And again, you can see the difference between a Tuesday and a Wednesday just on the days, based on the visits, So again, great information, a lot to unpack, and look forward to working with local businesses that want to come in to the DDA, discuss these reports. We can pull them for them, and I'm happy to make myself available also to dig into anything. So that's all I have to say on that. But great stuff, great resource.
Great. And the next thing I provided you all with was our Ginkgo report, which is Ginkgo is another dashboard that we've used, and it is really to map and highlight our downtown. We broke it up in here by. We upload through the property records. So from the property appraiser's office, it actually attached to the properties. So to give us a better understanding of the uses, the property owners, so a new database. So clicking on any property in here, we can find out who the owner is, all the information that's in the property records. And then also breaking it down by residential and commercial properties. So looking at, in the packet, we did also map it out by different district or neighborhood. So mapping out the set, the Pineapple Grove Arts District properties, the beach side, and then the Avenue, as well as south of Atlantic. The one thing we didn't just separately identify would be Federal Highway properties, but they're included in the others. But there's some discrepancy on some of the numbers that I'm working with the the company on to make sure that it matches particularly, but it does give you a good sense of, the total value per neighborhood and total properties, residential versus commercial, and then also the largest, we can break it down by the largest property owner as well. So there's a lot of different ways to manipulate this, but it's a great resource for us at a glance to do that. So I'll bring back a formal presentation for you all in the future.
Great. Yeah, look forward to seeing it again. I love maps and metrics, and this is like my jam here.
Any
So,
comments on
great
this at all?
stuff. It looks like you guys been doing a lot of work on it. From where I saw where it was a couple months ago, really. Because it was just some background. It was a database that we were working with.
Mm-hmm.
I went with I was able to go with the staff to the the idea exchange, and met the guy working on it. I knew it was something we were going to be spending time on, trying to really categorize all of our businesses and everyone in our district, and it's really great to see again all the colors and everything kind of moving forward. So
one thing we want to do is it can integrate into our website. So as we go forward with the website itself, it can be a mapping tool and be integrated into our website. And also it has another section that's not in here on this map, but it is development, so new development, so such as Sunday Village. So outlining where the new properties are, new development that's happening, coming forward. You can actually click on that property and see more about that information. So it's great to be integrated.
That would be great. I know, and it's funny enough you mentioned that. I know that the planning and zoning used to have a web, on their website, where you can go and look at a map and see where all the new development was and click and see it. It's not up anymore, so it's hard to see what's going on where, so it'd be nice if we kind of at least filled the gap for the time being.
Sure. Awesome. Great.
Moving on down to new business, the tentative 1 mil tax levy. Laura, you want to bring this up to speed?
Sure. So this is our annual opportunity for the board sets the Downtown Development Authority assesses and levies the 1 mil tax every year annually. So as of this year, hold on, let me grab to my notebook. I got it. So in your backup, I provided you with. You guys could hear me, right? Because it's and I feel like I'm in and out. As per our state statute, our board sets the 1 mil, which is assessed on the properties within the downtown district. I've provided you this year. We received a couple weeks ago our estimated value, taxable value of the downtown, which is the total value of the downtown is $1,923,071,479, which is about a 7 to 8% increase over last year. The new construction was $26 million. Last year, new construction, which is in that total, was $75 million. So there's been a little reduction in the new construction or transition of sales. What this does do, the levy of the 1 mil does that we assess on here goes into our operating budget annually. So that that equates to $1,826,918 for this coming year as far as our operating budget, which is approximately $115,000 increase. So with that, we cannot increase the 1 mil. We can that's our cap. So that is the recommendation to move forward with the 1 mil. What we do from here, as we've approved that, then we present that to the City Commission at the July meeting for their acceptance and pass forward to our budget hearing, which will take place in September.
Got you. Do we know if this is in line with what the city might be thinking and budgeting process and everything taking place now, as far as the mill levy?
As far as their mill levy?
Yeah, is it all consistent? Because I know last year there was that little misunderstanding.
Oh, as far as who sets the mill?
No, not who sets the mill. I mean, just even the mill in general. It's about working together, and just making sure we're all on board. Because last time it felt like we set the mill, they argued who set the mill. We were all setting the same mill. It was the same number last year, I think.
No, the question I think you're referring to was who sets the Downtown Development Authority millage rate, right. Okay. And that is the Downtown Development Authority Board.
Right, perfect.
That's the question. So,
right.
And
So
June
yes.
has- Yes.
All right, great. Yeah, I'm just making sure, like it's all communication. That's all.
Yes.
Okay, great. Do I have a motion? Is this one?
I, Vera Woodson, make a motion to approve the 1 meal request from the city of Delray Beach and all of the other operatives.
It's the
I'm
one-
sorry, the
no,
county.
it's our,
It's
it's
the-
our
it's
downtown development
Authorities,
authorities
1 meal,
annual.
1 meal millage rate, right?
Yes.
You're,
Yes.
you're setting that maximum rate of 1
Of
mil.
1%, yes,
Yeah.
but you're going to present it. That's why I was saying, yes, I approve for you to go and to present that
No,
to
no,
them.
no. This is what on our agenda is to set our annual mill.
At 1.
Right.
Yes. And then for you to go and present that, that was what your statement was. So I was trying to include that to say, yes,
Oh.
we're approving you to move forward with that. So just motion to approve.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Nothing around.
Aaron Halliburton,
Yes.
Cole Davids,
Yes.
Brian Rosen,
Yes.
Christina Godbout,
Yes.
Vera Woodson.
Yes.
All right, passing unanimously. Moving on to the DDA board application process. Quentin, take it away, sir.
Sure, I'll give you a summary of what's kind of been going on. As you all probably remember, because it hasn't been too far in the past, there was a few issues and snafus with the application process for membership on the board. So the process that we're engaged in now is I am in contact with the city attorney's office. I want to thank the city attorney for meeting with me, her and her staff, to discuss these applications that have been presented. We're reviewing those applications just to ensure that there's no issues with the tax qualifications. And once we've finished our review, we'll make a recommendation as far as if there's any issues that we see. We will, address those issues as warranted. But instead of how it's been done the last couple times, where it's just kind of on other staff members, it's been more placed on the attorneys are having a little more review process in the issues, so we can kind of address any issues that arise. There may still be issues, but we're going to do our best to capture any issues that arises throughout the process. Any questions on that?
Question?
No, so you're pre-vetting them as well. I mean, they're
Correct.
hit by 2 eyes.
Correct.
4 eyes, I guess. And then
6 or 8, depending on.
Sorry, but
Yeah, thanks. I haven't heard that one.
4 eyes
I haven't heard that one in a long time.
I did mean that. I meant 4 eyes in total, not just you.
I think we needed that. But anyway, go ahead.
And then I think there's about 25 applicants in right now. Do we know?
Give or take, yes.
And then is this coming up on the next commission meeting?
Correct. I believe it's the 18th. 18th.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Because we have our terms, it's based on our statute, terms end July 1st, or June 30th. So.
But there's obviously a seat that needed to be filled as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then we have 2 spots that will also either were up for reappointment or are basically at their end of their 3-year term.
Okay.
So is the process going to change? You just still go online and provide all your information and it just goes up? How's it
Correct. That's not changing at this point. It's just people reviewing them is a little bit different than what happened in the past.
So who reviews now? Like what happens? Like what changed?
I'm reviewing them with the city attorney's office.
Okay.
We didn't do that in the past.
Previously, it was more the city clerk that did the vetting, right? Or
I'm
not sure.
I
don't wanna
believe
put on
that.
anyone.
Yeah, I believe that's true, but
Moving forward.
I don't supervise that
And then
office, so I don't know.
the one thing, while you are speaking with the city attorney, I know I've heard some talk. I know that we're still keeping it as just, you write on the list, hey, these are the 3 boards I'm interested in, and
Correct.
the DDA is one of them. I know, being that we're kind of unique, being a dependent board, and with a little bit more budget and things, that we're talking about maybe pulling that out of that exact same process and making it a little different. I don't know if that is still in discussions or if that's dead, but again, just something to bring up.
I don't think it's dead, but
it would be
for
it'd be
purposes
nice,
of the next meeting, it just wasn't enough time
Yeah,
to
that's-
implement a different process. But
Maybe
I
something
think that
to
would be
discuss, yeah.
ideal for the DDAs, just so it's clear. Because some of the applicants, you have
It's
your
kind of like, I want to be on parking. Wait, I didn't get on parking. I want to be on
Right.
SPRAD, but I'm on the DDA now. It's like,
Surprise.
you need a little,
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, that'd be great. Again, just something to think about.
Absolutely.
Any
And
other
what-
discussion on that?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Laura.
No, I think I think it's definitely a good opportunity for this time as we, work with the city on the process, which I think is a great step forward. I do think, just in looking at other downtown development authorities something in their bylaws too, which I think is just around the board qualifications and process as well, that could be part of the bylaw process, which I think we have that in there already.
Yeah, and just again, I want to thank the city attorney's office. I met with the assistant city attorney earlier today, and it was a very fruitful meeting. So I think we're using this process now to be helpful for the entire issue that we're trying to prevent going forward. So I want to thank her again.
Thank you, city attorneys and assistant city attorney.
So after I apply online, it goes to you.
No,
it goes to the clerk.
It
goes to the clerk, and then who reviews it? Who gets to see it after the clerk?
Who gets to see it after the clerk?
Yeah.
I can't say how many people in the chain of custody of the documents get to review it, but I am now reviewing them with the city attorney's office. So if there's other people reviewing, I'm not aware. I assume some other people may be reviewing because it has to get to us in order for us to review. But I'm not sure who else is reviewing them.
I guess what I'm trying to get is that way it stays fair, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I'm the executive director, can I go and pull some names in or put a star on this one?
It's not about that. It's about qualification.
I understand that, but when they go through,
the commission has the ultimate authority to pick who they decide they want to be on the board. We're just trying to ensure that the people that they pick for a tax qualified position have the backup necessary to support that.
Mm-hmm. And based on what y'all was handed out, Liliana printed out an email that was from the city attorney's office that outlines what the process is. So you have that.
Yeah, so I didn't want to read that.
Right, so it just really can give you
so it's
their proposed process.
It's really about ensuring up the process. It has nothing to do with selecting any particular individual because the commission has the authority to do that, not the folks on the staff reviewing it. So they receive all the applications.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, we're not removing applications from the pot. Okay, yeah, that's not happening.
And I think the big thing comes down to people that are at large versus tax qualified.
Correct.
So I think just outlining that specific criteria.
So again, you're just part of the process. My hopeful words are that, we can move forward as a unified board. The city's going to find a great person to come into this board to add a lot of value and work with us all to further things forward.
You said you want to get rid of the at-large? Is that what you said?
No, there's two different criterias for that. So, no. I'm not getting rid of Aaron. Okay.
All right.
That's it. That's all I had for that unless there's any other questions.
All right. Moving on to 8C, Old School Square 24-25 funding update and discussion. And we definitely have a couple updates on that one.
Right. So two main things for this discussion item. And why it's on here is I wanted to just bring you up to speed. We had our workshop with the city commission back on the 14th of May. And at that meeting, we presented the proposed numbers for fiscal year 24-25. Followed from that meeting up with the meeting with the city manager and city attorney, the finance director, and the assistant city manager, myself, to review the numbers proposed as well as discuss, which is in our interlocal agreement, the profit share item, which is part of our plan going forward, or our agreement. So discussion in that meeting was to reduce the city to reduce the funds proposed or for the Old School Square managing and programming ILA to $800,000 for the annual for this coming year. We currently are receiving $1 million. So to reduce that to $800,000 for operating and managing this, or activating and managing the campus. And then also they proposed a discussion was around a profit share of 10% and 90. So DDA would keep the 90, 10% of any profits would be, our revenues would be, go back to the city. And that is, there's an email that I put in your packet regarding that. So just wanted to share this with the board. Obviously, this meeting was with staff, so bringing it to your attention and for discussion. And I also, and some of the meetings that we've, all the meetings, one-on-ones we had, we talked about, and in our ILA, it doesn't outline whether it's net profits or gross. So I know that there's a desire to have it on net profits.
It does say profits, though. Just
it does
to
say
clarify.
Profits, okay, not revenue.
And not revenue.
So profits going forward, so that would mean it would be on any net, if that's the direction. So that I would like to discuss with you all now before we move into.
So yeah, this one's really big one. I need clarification on. You know, I think the whole board will need clarification on, because again, looking at in our backup the email, it says revenues generated via ancillary partnerships, sponsorships, users, charges, admins, etc. via DDA's efforts would result in a shared ratio of 90%, 10%. 90% to the DDA to be reinvested back into OSS programming and its operations, and 10% to the city of Delray Beach. Now, revenues generated, sharing, you know, so you know, we can get into like a business relationship that you get into where you're giving up 10% of your gross revenue on when people write a check to support a show, like 10% of that is a check back to the city, so you have to raise 110%, or anything that we really do, it needs to make a margin, or else we're actually losing money if we take money and we lose money. And again, I understand when the DDA came into Old School Square, you know, history is we came in, it was a sugar fix. We're here to bring life into the campus. It's not to generate revenue. I'm totally comfortable with a net profit sharing situation. But the fact is, this organization's not set up to secure big net profits, you know? And really, there's probably other organizations out there and that may have been vetted by the city already that could help them do things like that. But, you know, as far as our role, like, even moving forward, I have to understand exactly what that relationship is, and it shouldn't be too hard to clarify because it's a really big business point, you know, just in regards to, is it part of the net revenues generated? Is it part of the net profits from the different events? Because it's just two different worlds, and one world, you know, we're just putting ourselves into a deficit, and I don't know how we do that, you know. And again, it's like taxpayer money going in at a loss, you know, and it just at a loss, and we got to write a check back. I know there was some talk about monies that we didn't spend that we put back into this budget for this year that are all being used to reactivate, and there's discussion of maybe we owe that money back, or we owe a portion of that money back, or we owe, and again, like, it's just, that's a really big deal. We need to know how financially we're going to be running this place, because all the financing for running place comes from the city. So again, I know that the city only has limited resources too. You know, I'd love to see the $40,000 we lost because Day of Dance got rained out, you know, go to sidewalk improvements and lighting. I don't think that is money that taxpayers in general should be paying for. And then moving to the budget, you know, we had a discussion on it. I think, and we'll hear from the board, but, you know, if they want to give us $800,000 to do things, we can do things with $800,000, right? It just has to be the right relationship in which it's given. If they don't want to give us $1 million, if they don't want to do the $1.5 million like we asked, I don't think I'm here to beat up the city for dollars. We're here to be partners, and it really comes down to, you know, what the city wants to do and then how we can work with them. So that's just my, like, overall, I'm kind of nervous because I didn't think it was like that, and these are all just things that came to light, and it's budget time for everyone, so just important to think about. But and one other quick thing, because again, I'm listening in public comments. Real quick, I just want to clarify. My family and I, we started the Okeechobee Music Festival in Okeechobee. It was supposed to be a residential development. This just has to do with Old School Square, because I just want to go on the light with my background. And we turned this residential development into Florida's largest music and arts festival. We double the entire population of the county for over a week. We generate over $250,000 of income for non-for-profits. When I say we, I founded it. I'm not involved anymore. We own the property. We created the music festival company. We sold the company. Not involved. We ended up leasing the land. We eventually sold the land. We held a mortgage. Mortgage has been paid off for years. So just so everyone understands my background there, I'm really a real estate background. We create value. We help bring art and culture to communities sometimes when we're able to. That's a passion of mine. I've served on the Arts Garage Board as well. So that's my background there. And as far as anything financial or otherwise, I read earlier how the Palm Beach County defines a financial benefit, or any kind of benefit for that matter, and I can promise you I'm not involved. I don't know their fundraiser people. I'm familiar with these guys. I like them. I heard Blake on NPR like 2 weeks ago regarding his music career. They interviewed him. Chris Cope, I know he's played, Article Sound System. I've seen that group grow. They're local guys and girl, and, I know these folks. I have no incentive other than really being a steward of Old School Square and wanting to see this place move forward, this whole campus, into the next 500 years. So again, that's what we're here to do, and we got to do it in a unified way. And that's why, again, I'm talking a lot, but I want to set aside some time for 27 Productions in the light to come and talk about what they're going to do. And I believe the city, again, as I recall, it's been a lot of changes, because I know that we had sent in a letter saying we were interested in classes, but right. I just want to come in with a unified plan, DDA 20, if there is an opportunity to do that, which I believe there is, save the city some money and try to work together on that.
So let's just, regarding the funding, is there any other discussion there? And then we can talk about, I just want to kind of keep the conversation so we don't go too far off track.
I just want to piggyback off Brian. Big difference between the 10% of revenues versus profit. Okay. Everything we would make is going to get reinvested back into Old School Square, so it's kind of detrimental in my opinion. And like Brian, we want a partnership with the city, and if they want to give us $800,000, then we're going to try to make $800,000 work. But I think that was, like you said, is a big factor. It's taking money out of the Old School Square's pocket to try to reinvest and bring it up to a better venue.
Especially if this could possibly include other parts of the campus too. Mm-hmm. This relationship. So.
Right. Anyone else? Just so let me.
Oh, and then piggybacking off that too.
Okay.
So, like we talked about in the workshop, they did have the line item. CRA has the line item for $500,000. If we could work on figuring out a way to get some of that money back into Old School Square to try to improve the grounds, then the $800,000 might be a little bit. We can stretch that a little bit farther if we can reallocate money on stuff. So.
Okay. Awesome. Anyone else on that?
Yeah,
okay, great.
I'll just stick with what I've been saying the whole time. I think DDA should stick with Atlantic Avenue and the businesses and leave the Old School Square alone, because I don't think even though you guys have done a good job, I don't think it's going to work out.
Okay. So transitioning, so I've got direction there. So regarding the 27 Productions and really around the Crest Theater. So it's the Crest Theater building. It's and we have currently, and Brian, if you want to tee this up on that discussion, or would you like me to tee this up? So for the Crest Theater itself, is the classrooms are ready for operation. The City Commission held a special meeting last week to discuss the next steps with that, with the proposals from the organizations that were the Boca Museum of Art, the Old School Square Center for the Arts, as well as 27 Productions. And as also was so that happened on Tuesday. Wednesday there was request if there was interest from the DDA as a letter that I sent to you all that was requested. If there was the city asked as part of our current management project, our management operation ILA, if there's interest or opportunity to run the art school. On the June 6th, the city met at that meeting. It was discussed with 27 Productions there, what is the best use for Crest Theater, and the schools and operation and management of that space. Again, the Downtown Development Authority is currently in this interlocal agreement for the campus. We had the Crest Theater as part of that. We initially took over, and it was removed in the interlocal agreement back a year ago. The building itself sits renovated but empty and ready to be used, and it's right now in that space of what's next for that. So at that meeting, I think there is really, what it came from is to go back to the Downtown Development Authority and 27 Productions, who was here, to discuss what's next there with the city leadership. I think there's definitely lots of opportunities, and I think the goal for this is we really want the campus itself to be successful as a whole for the public, right? It's an arts and culture venue, and it needs to be a place for the community. It has been a place for the community, as beautifully was stated by the public comments, and it is our old school square. So with that, I think, the sense of urgency to get it open without a plan, I think we really needs to be a plan that the city commission comes up with, and possibly a partnership with others. But I do think as we move forward, it really needs to have strength behind it. So I know that there's been great proposal put together by 27 Productions, and if the board wants to meet with them, if they're still here, I don't even know. I can't see.
They're here.
Oh, they are here.
I mean, I would be in favor of that as long as everyone else is, with the majority.
That's fine.
Vera? All right, great. You guys want to come on up and talk to us a little bit about your ideas?
It's weird sitting in this seat. I can't see anybody.
Yeah,
It's
no worries.
very awkward.
Yeah, please say your name and where you live. State your name and where you live for the record, and then, maybe share some broader ideas. Again, because right now I think, in my vision, I just want to see things move forward, right? And again, there's a number of things we can do great with the DDA, and I think there's a lot of value that they can add. And then I think there's a way we can work together to really kind of try to see it move forward. And again, this is currently the only group that has been vetted through the city's bid process and has come and presented the city 2 different times. So again, until we send our letter in. So I'd like to just work it all together. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So, I agree with the last thing you just said. Oh, sorry, Blake Ian Goldsmith, 32 Southeast 2nd Avenue. Just off of what Brian just said, our intention is to collaborate with whoever's here now. The first thing we actually did, even before presenting, was to come to the DDA to just sit with Laura and Suzanne, and also mention it to Brian that this is what we're planning, and it was very important to us that we come in a way that's welcome by the DDA. I've had the pleasure of coming to Delray about 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, where I'm actually a resident in Delray, and I kind of missed all of what the history that's gone on here, and so I've learned. But my view of it is that the organization that's been discussed as being called OSS has created something amazing here as far as arts and entertainment and culture. The DDA took that up and continued that, and has done an amazing job continuing that. We would love to come up on the heels of both of those organizations, and also open to working with any of those organizations and making sure it gets done right. Our intentions are very, very simple. We live here. We would love the community to have this influx of art, culture, economic impact, and that's what we're here to do that for. So we're not looking to really push anybody out of somewhere they wouldn't want to be. So we're very motivated to just have to come up with an arrangement that we would all be happy with. I know Mr. Moore is supposed to speak with us and also speak with you, and then put together some sort of plan. I think it probably makes sense, as long as it's appropriate and feasible, that we kind of help him do that job, come up with a plan that we are all extremely happy with, and then just present it as here's a plan we all really love. So that would be my suggestion, and something we're very open to, if it's doable. I guess what's worth mentioning too, just so you know our intentions, our interests, the art school came up. We scrambled together, we brought together a bunch of really talented people who have run schools for the arts in Delray for a decade. That was more just, this is what the city needs, so let's do that. We're not really going, like that wasn't our passion to run an art school. The only benefits, just being totally transparent here, to properly run the venue part of it, is having access to the office spaces. We're going to have ticket people, booking people, the venue manager. We're going to need the kitchen facilities for VIP experiences. So really just those facilities are important to us. So would it be easier if we were also running the art school to not have to butt heads with another organization potentially? Like, sure. But we also, we're open to that as long as we can. It might be like a schedule wheel on the wall that we can all, can follow, and then everything's fine. And then it is worth mentioning, just for full, and I think you guys are aware of this, that our intention is also, and our interest is also to move into the pavilion, which the mayor had spoken about as well, and I think that's been pretty open as well. So we just want to make sure we're not coming into a place where the DDA has some, resentment towards that, because that's not, we just would sooner not do something than create more division and political unrest. We don't want to have no part in that, We've seen what that does. So if we can come to some agreement, like if we paint our perfect situation, we come into Crest Theater, we bring some serious music, other types of theater, comedy into that space, create a transition plan to also bring that into a broader space of the pavilion, and be in a place where whoever is running art in the building is that we're doing it in a way that we're allowed to also manage the venue properly, which just really means office space and kitchen. And there will be times where a major label artist comes through and they're playing at 8 o'clock, and by 3 or 4, sound check is starting and the building needs to be empty on a Friday night. Like that type of thing, as long as that can be worked out. So everything I just said is like all we're really interested in. So that's everything for us.
Does anyone on the board have any questions? Again, working or even staff, thoughts or ideas, possibly working with 27 Productions and trying to maybe do something, and maybe, again, if it's $800,000 we get for this next year, maybe working with them, we could do better than we did this year with $800,000 because we've got some other support and ways to work. And again, I think it's all about people working together. So, go ahead.
Great job, Brian. You're selling it. So
I'm trying.
No, I think that's awesome. I have a couple questions because I know this has been brought up in the past, and I've been on the board prior to. This was an open bid, right? So anybody could apply, or not anybody, but anybody with the licensing and.
I believe so, as far as I knew.
Okay, so when 27 Productions, there was no one else that got approved by the city, or just to.
So I'll
make sure. Sorry.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'll just fill it in. So basically, I think there might have been 5 or 6 folks that had applied. Then the city culled it down to 3: Boca Arts, Old School Center for Fine Arts, and 27 Productions. Then they called a meeting. Boca Arts and Old School Square decided to withdraw for whatever reasons. So then we have one company that had been through the bid sync, been through 2 different meetings, and was moving forward to put a plan together with the city manager. And then again, I know, then you can step in because you. Yeah, go ahead. You can. If I missed something, please correct me.
No, you did. I think, just for clarification, it didn't go through bid sync, but it went through. It was a request for interest. The letter, right? The
RLI.
RLI.
It was originally through I believe the people that came up on May 19th were the organizations that were originally rejected through the blanket rejection of bid sync, and then we were all invited to create proposals again, which we did.
Okay, good. Okay.
So I don't know how.
I'm just trying to.
That was our journey through the process.
Yeah. So again, here we are with someone that's kind of been through the process with the city. The city wants to work with them, wants to work with us to come up with a plan. I say, let's all just work together, create a plan. And again, I think that's the opportunity here. I want some hard questions. If we have some hard questions for 27 Productions, I'm here to, we're in the light. I want the
I was
hard
trying,
questions
Brian.
coming out. I know, but just
Yeah.
like for real, like this is when we can discuss if we have
Okay.
concerns and staff
Like
too.
Christina's on the floor
Yeah.
right now. So.
Okay, so I just wanted to understand that because I know there was questions about making it open to anybody that could be available. So then with the 27 productions possibly coming into the Crest Theater, and then the $800,000 budget, that would be if the DDA decided to take on the Crest Theater or not?
No,
That's
so
just
that
Old School
number
Square.
came prior to this past week's conversation.
Got you.
So part of the letter and part of this proposal for the art school, and that, there was a year ago, as I said in the letter, we sat down with Sharon, who was the director of the art school before, and gone through and almost to getting a proposal from her prior to this. So there is, some past, history and relationship. So there is that opportunity, and that came forward as a question from the mayor, who reached out to me with a question of what could be moved forward in a timely fashion to maybe have something going sooner than later, if you will. So the building can be open and be operational for our community. Not knowing really what was going on with the proposals, that was really the quest and request of the organization based on our current situation on the campus, and our past conversations. So that's really where we are now. Again, it would be, we're here to work with the city as a partner, as our organization, whatever capacity. I think whoever is going into the Crest Theater, it was always our intention to be working collaboratively with them. So I think it's just really understanding the goal and what the city is requesting from us as an organization, and what's the best for this campus going forward. And I do personally, I think it really needs, as I said 2 years ago when we started this process, this campus needs a really strong plan, strong business plan, strategic plan for the next 500 years. So, that kept getting pulled out of our conversations for whatever reasons, and I really think that needs to come back with somebody to really, and if that's just my thoughts, but had we done that probably then, we might be in a different situation now.
So then would 27 productions come into the Crest Theater eventually? Would love to take over the pavilion, right? But for right now, that's what's available. Would the city be charging them a lease or a rent, or how does that work? Does it go to?
I think it was licensing is what was talked about.
We are at the beginning of that conversation with Mr. Moore. So there's not really anything put out there. I could share some of the ideas that we have, but I would be speaking not for the city at all, because we haven't started that conversation. That conversation's supposed to happen this week.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
And then the renovations, those were done by the city, right?
Correct.
So that city invested that into fixing that up. So no one.
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
That was just for the classrooms and the upstairs and the kitchen. The theater itself, the auditorium portion of it, is not been renovated yet.
So everything that was removed from there still needs to get.
Right. There's still a lot of code, a lot of things, bringing things up to current code, and investing more into actually the stage itself.
And we're not in that process yet of 27 productions.
Some part of the conversation, but our plan is, just high level, is that we come on in a way that we also provide some funding, and we reduce significantly the city burden on the property, and then with a plan within a relatively short amount of time, maybe 18 months, 24 months, where these properties that we're managing or operating or programming are not, that we're not asking for any funding from the city. That would be the plan. I think that would be the win-win for us and the city. Obviously, we'd be in that to make it a profitable venture for ourselves.
For sure.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that's it.
So to ask the hard question, I guess the funding, where's the funding coming from? You have
private investors.
Okay.
And donations, and we have some other strategies on, there's ways when you start a venue, which we've been involved with in the past.
Are people going to donate if you're for profit? I mean...
Well, so there's definitely different buckets, but the majority would be private capital, investors that would in some way have a rev share or partnership in the profitable company.
Okay. And then is the end goal, I guess, of 27 Productions to kind of acquire the whole campus at some point, or what do you all? If everything goes well and...
as far as like I said, the art building, the classrooms for us is not something that that we came like, this is what we want to do. But if it worked, the amphitheater for sure. Yeah, sure. And the Crest Theater and the amphitheater are our main goal. Chris and myself were actually, and one other partner were actually scouting locations, not knowing that this was even coming up right before that first bid process started. So we were putting this idea together anyway. We found out it's right in our backyard where I've said this before, I walk my dog like 3 times a day. Like, I live in Worthing Place. I am in Old School Square Park every single morning and night. I've played that stage, as has Chris, and we've worked with both of us have separately worked with DDA to put on events on that stage as musicians, as event coordinators. So it just became this like serendipitous, oh my God, that would be amazing because this is our town, and I would love that. That's really how our process came about. To answer your question, yeah, the Crest Theater, the amphitheater are our 2 main goals. I do, for over a decade, have partners in Wynwood Walls, in Miami, where it's like an art center for the country. I've specifically already gotten, I could get a letter of intent or whatever, but I've already gotten total commitment from one of my business partners of 20 years to be involved, and that's a gentleman who's sold over $10 million in artwork every year for the past 30 years. So his involvement would very likely be something we would want to utilize the museum for. Again, that's not, if that were in the cities and the DDAs and the residents' interests, we're not, I want to make it clear, we're not looking to come in and commoditize and commercialize the town center. I live here, and it's not what I think it needs at all. Our goal is bringing real musical talent and other talents to those 2 stages. If the city would come to us and say, hey, can we do something cool at the museum? Like, I have all sorts of relationships we could utilize. The art school, just as an example, we brought in these people that have owned and run performing arts schools in Delray. But at the end of that meeting outside, I said to Laura, guys, if we don't get it and you get it, hey, can I give you his number? Like, just utilize them. It's not about what we own or control. These are good people that could add value to the city, and I like that. So I just, it's very clear, like that's our vision for this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I appreciate you being transparent about everything.
For me, it's the only way. I mean, anything I've done successful is by making friends, not by making enemies or talking bad about anybody. I don't find that to be productive at all. So I'm a huge fan of collaboration.
Have you by any chance had any conversation with the old School Square board? I
haven't, other than just meeting them during these meetings that I've lost my voice speaking at for the last 2 weeks. Yeah. But I just shaking their hands and saying hi and introducing ourselves, all who seem like very nice people who have good intentions. And so if your question is, are we open to working with them? Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. I think the mayor said something last meeting that I think was really important, which was, if you're on the side of saying our side did nothing wrong and made no mistakes, you're incorrect, right? And so I just don't think anybody could ever say that. I certainly can't. So I'm open to, I think everybody that's involved has done a great job and has had the best of intentions. And so we're certainly open to working with all of these people,
Do you have programming ready to, I know this would be probably a quick turnaround, I'm guessing.
Programming would consist of a partnership with AEG, which is like a global promoter. They do,
for sure,
as well as music, comedy, theater, all sorts of stuff. And so we have been having those conversations for months, longer than even this bid process has started, because we weren't, as I said.
Manifesting it.
Yeah, we were manifesting. And it showed up in our backyard, yeah. And so it's more of a programming plan, a relationship management operations. We brought a man named Hunter White here, and he's doing exactly what the job entails. And it's not the whole job, but it's one key position. So he would just be transplanting here. But as far as the actual bands and things, that takes, bands are right now they're on their summer tours. We're not going to probably bring artists, at least through AG, in there for another 6 months. Estimate. And so, and there's some things to be done. But I will say it's also important to say that this theater can be open and running and housing those bands within that time period, 6, maybe 9 months. This is not, I've heard, it's going to take 3 years to get the Crest Theater open. I've gone in there, I've done walkthroughs with Missy Barletto, I've brought construction, development, electrician, and plumbing just to look around. Yeah. It's not this building's not in disarray at all.
Mr. Chair?
It needs production.
Yes.
Do you have a time set or date set with the city manager for that discussion you were mentioning earlier?
I think he was probably reaching out to both us and you guys after this meeting because he wanted to see what was feasible first for the DDA as far as the board's choices. As far as I know, we were supposed to speak right away after last week, and then after the final meeting, which I think was Thursday, or I'm not sure, I think the direction from the city commission was to wait until the DDA had their meeting and then approach both of us separately, I assume. And so I think with what Brian said, I agree. If we can do this together and hand him something to make his job easier and make sure we're all very happy with the situation, it will just save a lot of time and headache for everybody.
And the one thing I'll ask you to ask my hard question is, the city has made it clear they're very interested in seeing something happen in the classrooms.
Yeah.
And I know they went back to everyone and asked everyone to put something together. Did you put something together, and what was the time frame on that? Because again, I just know that is a focus on.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is we kind of scrambled because whether it's our miss or it wasn't communicated, we didn't know that specific use of the classrooms was so important to the city.
Yeah.
So we kind of just went, gathered some troops, reached out, found that we have a lot of talent in that area, and we put together a proposal probably within about 24 hours to turn it around. That morning, Mr. Moore called me and we sent it to him by 3. So we all went back to my apartment after attending the meeting here and just.
And what would be the timing and investment for that proposal that you turned around so quickly, more or less, broad stroke?
Timing of investment?
No, timing as far as when you can start bringing some life into the building, because I think that's what the city wants to see. And then is there going to be an initial investment? I assume so, of some sort, because I know.
Yeah, we need like amplifiers and easels and brushes and things like that. I will say, transparently again, we kind of sit on a fence of if we just have the whole building, it will maybe make it easier. However, if it were someone like the DDA or potentially another organization that I've never worked with, but hopefully would be, amenable, it might be a better path to have a partner in that building. We're really not. We didn't send that proposal with like pick us, not them. We came here with like, if you need us, we can do this, and here we're very capable. But it's not, we're not opposed to working with people on it.
Because again, we're spending money, taxpayer money, on pencils and paper, and it was in your letter. The materials, the easels, the tables. It's just going to be a lot of taxpayer money.
It's important to say that the city had, at least from what I heard, was making it clear that visual art, specifically painting and traditional art, was the focus of maybe the residents or the constituents. And our proposal was almost entirely performing arts, dance, theater, music, as an integration with the stage that's there. I don't know at this moment, not that we couldn't hire 5 art teachers, but I don't know at this moment that we have a curriculum or anything that has to do with painting. And so if that is important to the city, I just want to be clear we don't have that.
Go ahead.
So just part of the art school itself is paid to take classes. So the goal of obviously the art school is that it would pay for itself and has in the past. So that is from what I understand. So
understood, but there's startup capital needed as well. So
well,
it's hard to pay for itself in the summer, and this part of the city was a short program. It wasn't a long program. It was a Band-Aid, I heard a couple times. So I just want to be, transparent. There's startup costs and then there's rev that you generate, which is gross revenue.
Right.
And then there's net revenue based on the business, what you spent startup, what you generated, what your expenses are, and what you're left with, So that's
you're saying Band-Aid from the Band-Aid comments from the city? That's
what I'm saying. It's hard to build an art program and have it be profitable in reality when you have startup costs that are associated with it, from the ground up. And it's maybe for a summer and not continuing necessarily.
Well, I think the goal for that building itself is to have the amenities that are part of the building itself, be part of that building and, stay there and decorate, how it's interior design, decorated, that it would be live with the Crest Theater building itself, just as it does with the museum or even the amphitheater. The pavilion itself is those, and I think Blake has said any funds raised or anything done would stay with the building itself.
Yep, definitely.
But those are that's the other thing too. Just there's this facility, and I would imagine the Crest Theater building should and has been in the past. It's a rental facility too. That people rent for weddings for events. I mean, I met someone on Saturday that 20 years ago, her daughter got married in the theater itself. So all the events that are, the rentals that happen actually in the amphitheater and festivals that are going on out there, those are all managed currently by the team on site. So
By the DDA team?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that would be part of, I would say the theater building. Anybody that's in that building needs to be managing that whole space, right?
Oh, good. Yeah, I wasn't sure
any
where you were with
rentals or anything that's happening there needs to be managed or have that as part of their administrative or operation team.
Definitely. It's actually a big, it's a crucial part of our plan and Hunter's plan and what he does with the Jefferson, which is, again, it couldn't be more similar. It's a 100-year-old building in the town square that became a private music venue. But a big portion of what he does and told us day one is weddings, town events, and rentals. So that's something that we would need to do as part of, supplementing with concerts and stand-up and things like that, for sure. And I just want to say also, just whatever, as we discuss a potential arrangement, let's say it is something the DDA wants to stay involved in, or there's a transition or a partnership, the people that work for the DDA and that have done a great job are, super important to us also. And I just want to be clear that we're not looking to displace anyone ever. I just thought of this because I saw Mariska sitting there who, I go to all of her shows and she's done a great job. She's put a lot of passion into it. So whatever we do, it's like, as an example, like if Mariska wants to be there, I would certainly want her to be there as long as it's amenable to the DDA. So I don't want to be coming in here and, pushing anything out. I want to add what we have to add, and I think there's some value in support from the DDA or from other past organizations, who I'm not going to specifically say.
Would they keep our same focus, like our venues and stuff?
You can ask, just hit them with questions.
Because I'm not familiar with you at all, so just off what Brian's told me, which you sound really good. So would you,
Thanks.
Would you be keeping like our same kind of venues, like what we pride ourselves on as a small little city, or what kind of things do you bring to the table? Like,
do you mean like Cocoa Market and things like that, or?
Yeah, Cocoa Market, our art shows are like when you say you're bringing stand-up comedians and music production people. Like, what kind of bands does that entail?
It really it can
Like,
run the
what,
gamut.
like-
It could be a singer-songwriter on that stage. There could be a stand-up comedian. There could be a play troupe. There could be a rock band. There could be again. So we would be partnering with an organization that we already work with, that Chris already has a strong relationship with, that is a global promoter. They book shows at I Think Theater. They book shows at Madison Square Garden. The gentleman specifically that we're working with, that's eager to do this with us, just booked the Rolling Stones tour. That just happened. So I'm not saying we're getting the Rolling Stones, but we can. The sky's the limit, I guess. And as far as community events, for sure. And whether, again, even like I want to find where the happy line is. If there's people on your staff saying, well, we like doing the Cocoa Market, we like handling this, and this, I don't, then sure. And if not, Corey from Cocoa Market is a very close friend of mine, and I'm happy to work with her. We're happy to work with her. So. But we would intend to keep those things for sure. I go to the Cocoa Market every time it's there. I go to the Green Market every Saturday. I go, so there's no. This would really be the addition would be just making the addition of like major label acts being on both of those stages on a regular basis, minimally 5+ times a month. Hopefully, 5 to 10 sold out shows, a month, if not maybe, 10 to 15 a quarter at least of sold out shows. And I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but the capacity of the pavilion based on, just standard metrics is above 3K. I mean, you could sell 3,000 tickets to that, to a show. You need an act that would sell 3,000 tickets. Chris's act sold about 1,000 tickets. 2,000 tickets. And not by himself, by the way. With the help of Laura, in partnership with Laura and Suzanne and their whole staff. So, which just goes to show, we've worked together already, right? So, that's. Does that answer your question? I ramble sometimes.
That's good. So my last thing would be just to move forward. I would really encourage, take advantage of the Old School Square board, because they did spend 40 years doing it, and forget the politics of it that happened a couple years ago. Everybody keeps bringing up, and move forward with it.
Yeah, that's the first thing I said, is I have the benefit of not being around for that. I'm a resident for almost 5 years now, so it's not like I'm a new guy in town, but I fortunately just didn't witness all that, so I don't really have any side to take. I think it would be impossible for anybody to say that organization did not help create or just create something that we're all talking about now and trying to build upon. So that, you know, has value, just as I would say the DDA has taken the last few years and made it, you know, awesome as well. So yes, to answer your question, totally open to working with all these people. I don't have any sort of political affiliations or historical resentments.
Laura, you'd like to say something?
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Blake, and for being here today. And I just think that from the board, and I know Vera hasn't said anything, but I would want to make sure that Vera has a comment because everyone's had something to say. But if you wanted to say anything before I wrap up, and then because I know we're getting gone, but I just want to bring it back.
Because you know I have to go see my Panthers. So
well, I want to make sure that also just we circle back for direction as we move forward. With some clarity,
I've actually been doing my own homework on the organization. There were 2 YouTube videos. I got the short sheet from your office regarding what their proposal was for what they were interested in terms of where they are taking their guidance. I was concerned in that they had at the podium spoke and stated that they had put a group together within 48 hours and got investors, and it was moving very swiftly to kind of fill the chute for what was being requested. And now I understand from your description that there was more background to that information. So thank you for stating all of that. I am also reserving any more comment until you have a meeting with the city. I think some of this is futile until we find out what their direction is and where they see you in this partnership and how they craft that statement. So once we receive that documentation from Mr. Moore's office, I think we can then have a more serious conversation about what that looks like.
Can I just reply to that? I thank you. I think that makes a lot of sense. The only 2 points I'll make is, you know, again, we may want to discuss together to try to bring something to Mr. Moore, but I'm certainly happy to have a first conversation. I've forgotten my first point. You had made 2 points, and I was going to respond to one of them, but it's out of my head.
That's probably the best. So if the direction we could be that we'll, you know, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. I think what we've heard from the board is there's no, the board is not against moving forward in this direction. I think that's really what the city needs to hear, that the board is not against your business being involved in this process. There's no apprehension to moving forward to see if it will work from the city's perspective. So I think that direction is kind of what the board has been saying. There's been a lot of details about what they do, what they don't do, what they can do, what they can't do. But I think the real value of the discussion is that the board is on board with seeing whether or not this can work, whether it's you and the board, whether, you know, there's some in between that. So I think
I'm sorry, I just remembered my second point before it leaves my head. I just wanted to give you the insight that you were looking for, which it may shed some light, is that as far as I'm aware, at the end of the 2 meetings ago, last Tuesday I believe it was, at the end of that meeting, I believe the city commission, I believe they took a vote. I was told later, maybe I misunderstood it, but it seemed like they did take a vote, actually. Mm-hmm. But to at least move forward in discussing with us taking over just the actual theater room. So I think that is, you can take that as an intention from the city, that they're comfortable with that. And I also heard the mayor, but just one person, it's not a consensus, but the mayor saying, it does make sense for them to potentially move into the pavilion eventually. So that might just be helpful to your questions about how the city feels, that, we have that information right now.
So
I sat through those, and there was then those questions about was there a vote, wasn't there a vote. So I just want to make sure that the proper procedures are followed,
that was
and
the following meeting,
in the future when we do sit down, that we have something concrete, so that it's not.
Agree, sure.
Thank you.
So what I'm hearing, because we did provide the opportunity for the classrooms as moving forward prior to meeting as a group. So I think that's also the conversation that we wanted to have here, and with 27 Productions. So from what I'm hearing is all of us will go back, meet with them, with the city manager, and for a plan to be brought forward to move together or move forward.
I do think it's appropriate for the board to give you on the record that authority to speak regards to this, so that you can report back to them, so that they're not individually responsible for clearing their calendars for any of these discussions that they may not have time for. But obviously, you'll keep the board abreast of all those issues that were discussed with the city. So I think a motion would be appropriate for that purpose, just so that the city knows that you all gave her that direction to speak on behalf of the board in those discussions, and she'll, not make any decisions at those meetings, but report back with some of the information, if that's the direction the board wants to go, to expedite this.
Yeah. So I guess repeat that one more time, because I had a question with what you had suggested on
that
how
you all give the executive director the authority to speak with the city manager on behalf of the board to discuss this arrangement for the Crest Theater.
Gotcha. And with that arrangement, we want to, before, I think, again, I'm speaking for myself now, but before the board can really decide if they're going to step into classes, we should figure out if we want to and how much money there is to do that, because I don't know if we can make a decision, if we were going to step in, based on our letter, which said needed board support.
Back, right?
Yeah, of course.
So I think that's
just
the one
getting,
thing.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying that's the one thing. I just want to be clear on what we're asking her to go talk to the city about. So one, it's like we can't say you asked us, the director, to send a letter saying that we were going to run the art school, but as a board, I don't know if we can make a decision to run the art school until we know how much funds are behind it and all the other terms of the deal. I don't think we can make a vote on that. It would be really hard. And then the other second part about the financials is understanding the net versus gross profit. What are they looking to do? Because that's going to take a big direction on the rest of our relationship. Yeah, that's for Crest, and that's also based on our ILA currently in place. Like, we really need direction on that. That's regarding funding and finance.
Understood.
So,
Yeah.
those are my two things I just wanted to clarify.
So that was a motion?
Yeah, well, that's
somebody
just wanted to put
make?
in the motion if someone wants to make the motion. I don't think I
So
can
moved.
make the motion.
All right, so a motion to approve Laura to be able to talk as the board members' approval to move forward with discussions with 27 Productions.
And consistent with the board chair's comments, I think those are valid
consistent.
comments. And the prior discussion those issues have all been raised, so I agree with that.
Can I amend that by asking to include the City of Delray Beach Management Office?
No, that's who it's with.
That's right. I just want to make sure her motion said for Laura and him. I just want to make sure that we include the city in that discussion, and to notate that it's a three-way conversation so that we can get the city's outline of what their expectations are, because they said they were going to do that.
Right.
I don't want to overstep their authority in that process.
All right, I'll second that.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Have Laura
Christina,
talk to the city and 27 Productions in a three-way meeting.
Do you want me to repeat the motion? Okay.
We got it.
I would have paid for that.
Vera Woodson,
Yes.
Christina Goldbach,
Yes.
Brian Rosen,
Yes.
Cole Davids,
Yes.
Arnoldi Burton.
Yes.
All right, moving on to.
Good, thanks. Okay.
Are we good?
Am
All right,
I
thanks.
allowed to speak?
No, public comment was earlier. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
I will
Yeah.
send an email. Thank you.
Then we will step to executive director comments and some discussion on the summer parking rate.
Yes. Okay, great. All right, so now we're at comments, and so we've had at the past couple of board meetings, we've had public comment regarding a summer rate, and I think this was also part of our goal setting session last summer. We talked about parking and potentially a summer parking plan or parking program. I just put this on here. I don't have any backup or any plan put together, but I wanted to discuss it. If there's consensus from the board to come back with something, to work with the city, come up with some proposals of something to do. Summer is definitely, it's here, drastically here. And I do think there was a, yeah, sorry. There's definitely an incentives that can be done. Other cities around the country, even winter or northern cities, do winter rates. So I know Vera has mentioned in the past about a seasonal rate. So I thought just before we go and to do any work or anything, I wanted to get feedback from the board to move forward on something like that.
What's cheaper than the Delray parking pass? It's $12, isn't it?
Those are for residents.
Yeah.
Right. Mhm.
That's what we're worried about.
Right. Well, that's a great rate as well. But I'm thinking something that there's other individuals that are coming here besides the residents. So just so again, if there's not consensus or
I think it's a great
appreciate
idea
that.
to get more people downtown. I don't know, the economic vitality of it, how much money it's taken off the table, but I think it makes sense to try to get more locals downtown who don't want to buy the. I know.
Vera?
I'd like to go backwards to that summer discussion when Mavis was on the board, as well as Big Al. We were speaking in terms of the parking rates having a seasonal effect. So when our season of all of the visitors and travelers ended, that the rates would go down to spawn more local activity with residents as well as local visitors coming into the downtown area. The parking meters, when they were purchased, it was under the assumption that they could just hit a switch and it would do that. Then they later found out that the meters that we purchased didn't do that, and it was more of a technical process that would have to take place. I think we're still in favor, strongly in favor of reducing the rates, especially during a time such as this when economic vitality is lower. As I heard Aaron speak earlier, that during the week it's tough for his business down by the beach, but on the weekends that it seems to be a little more robust. I think that's the effects that we're feeling probably up and down Atlantic Avenue and even into Pineapple Grove and the tertiary areas. So if we could have that discussion once again, but at this time, since it's been a year, put an action item to it with a date so that we can get back to the residents and the locals and the merchants as to when this will take place. And if we could have it written out some way that it's an annual process that will happen so we don't have to have these discussions ongoing. I'd appreciate that.
The city has to agree to all this.
Yes,
correct?
right. Yes.
Yeah.
But
This is
for her
basically
to-
for
yes.
permission to start discussions with the city on the thing from the board direction. That's what we're looking
Right,
for.
just have go research and do.
Christina, you got anything?
No, I'm good.
I just say I'm open to it. It really comes down to the city, and I know they got budget needs to meet. You just need to make sure they have to do their analysis, saying, if we don't have if we reduce it, that's gonna be fine for our budgets. So they're doing budgets now, but I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good PR opportunity, and with that same breath, going on what Aaron had mentioned, let's do a really big push on the resident program. Hey, no one's downtown. You can get downtown easily and go to the garage. Go stop paying for parking and pay your $12. Let me save you some money. You want to see value in what the DDA does. We can save a lot of residents, 67,000 of them. A lot of money on parking possibly based on the current program. So that would be awesome and a real benefit to our residents.
And just to be fair, when I made that comment, it's because it's hot. That's why they ain't coming out. It's hot.
Yeah.
On the weekends, it's full. The park, the beach is full. The lots are full. During the week, it's that time of the year. I'm at the same exact numbers as 2019.
I think it's a PR opportunity. You talk about, reduced parking, and then in the same rate, you say, hey, and by the way, come and get it reduced all year round if you're a Delray resident. Come in, it's quiet. You can slide into the parking garage. Again, just keep pushing the content.
Oh, we are
Yeah,
that part we are. This would be something. It doesn't.
This is
it could be a
different,
day.
yeah,
it could
but-
be like just a park.
So I'm open if anyone wants
there's
to
a
make
lot
a
of things
motion
just
for her.
we can do. Just want to bring.
I make a motion to allow Laura to speak to the city regarding our action or request for an analysis of the parking meter determination to have a seasonal rate and to move forward if possible.
Thank you.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Arnoldi Burton,
Yes.
Cole Devitt,
Yes.
Brian Rosen,
Yes.
Christina Goldbach,
Yes.
Vera Woodson.
Yes.
All right. DDA attorney Quentin.
Have no comments.
You sure?
Very sure.
Okay. All right.
I don't want to belabor.
Yeah, don't worry.
We're at the hour.
Yeah. DDA board members. That's Aaron. Anything you want to share? Comments?
Glad to be here.
Cole, Christina.
2 seconds. I really did like the town hall presentation, Susan. I think you did a great job at guiding everybody, and I thought the residents really liked it. I would love to see how we can give the feedback on what the residents did say. If there's any, whether it's through social media or I don't know. I like the town hall meetings. I like Brian. I thought had a really good presentation on, because residents were concerned of restaurants and no one really had anything. So I think that
we
went really
have
well.
a video of the entire thing, and we're going to be putting that up on YouTube.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're just doing some
I heard the lighting was the lighting bad?
I don't know. He just said he was going to clean it up a little bit
Okay.
because there's a lot of pausing and stuff in it.
No,
so.
it was cool. It was very informational, and the food was great, and I thought it was really cool to see people come down to that. And then again, I think the summer resident program, how we can get the 20% or whatever the businesses are doing, how do we get that in front of the residents? I know we're doing the little mail-out card.
Oh, the Love Delray?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's
So that we have a huge, so summer is our big focus on, obviously, our marketing pieces. And so investing into more advertisement that's going to go live, I think, into the beginning of July. We're going to do some commercials as well as some paid advertising around that. We have printed collateral and also going out to, and stickers and posters and everything aren't traditional, but it's a huge marketing piece.
No, I just think it's
awesome.
It's good for coming into summer. Like, it's
Thank you.
definitely more prepared. So good job, town hall. Great.
Thank you, Christina.
You forgot to mention you sat by some really cool people too.
Then we had the best table.
Ms. Woodson?
First, I want to thank all of the public who came out to address what I stated at the meeting formally. Because regardless of whether we agree or disagree, I am very heartened by the background in which you shared about some of the people who potentially had nothing to do with the issues that were that took place. I also want to let everyone know that when I spoke with clarity. I spoke on behalf of myself. Please do not judge other board members based on my statement, which is why I introduced myself and said I was a board member, to let people know. I stand behind my words, and I also own my words. But I did still want to thank those that came out to speak, because you have a voice in this community, and I have a voice in this community, and regardless of whether I disagree with you, we can always work together. I am not going to dignify any of the other statements that were made because they didn't even state where those statements came from. So I will leave those right there. But I want to thank you all for coming and for addressing the board. And go Panthers. Thank you.
Gotcha. I'll keep it quick. Again, keep the meeting moving. I just want to, again, let everyone know I did have the opportunity to visit the set for the elders meeting. If you're on the board and you've never been, you should definitely check it out. I've gone, I don't go consistently, but I've been going intermittently for years and years and years, even back to the Zach Strahan days at Donnie's, and I always learn something, and it's amazing. And one of the hardest parts, but most important parts, is listening. And even me being at the meeting, people talk and you want to address what they're saying, but sometimes you just have to listen. So, and be aware of how you're listening. Watch these meetings and how when people are speaking, what faces or sounds you're making. I'm just asking all this board just to listen. We're a DDA board. Show respect for everyone. Let's not polarize anything anymore. Let's move forward in a unified manner. Let's bring the city some really good ideas to take this building the next 100 years forward. So it's an honor to be on this board. It's for everyone here. I really appreciate it. I promised you I'm here for the community. And, I know everyone else is very vested. So those are really my words. And that's our staff, everyone. Our staff kicks butt. I just want to go. I know I lit some stuff up today, but it's just this is stuff we got to work through, right? So it's good, and I'm good with everything. So I just want to be really clear on the direction I want to take, and I want to get away from a lot of this polarization and really just move this ball forward, whether it's Old School Square as well as the DDA business and making this, economy better for our residents, for our businesses, and for our visitors. So thank you. That's all I got. And with that being said, I think, are we coming to an adjournment? Yes. Meeting adjourned.